Oh, banger.
Welcome back to another episode with Fight Night Picks. As always, we're brought to you by SimBody. Vertiball is now SimBody. If you head on over to their website, simbody.com, you're going to get all the great products that you know and love, including the SimBody Vertiroller and the Vertiball that you have seen most likely here in studio. Look at that. Place it, lock it, attach it, Vertiball, all sorts of great stuff over there if you want to roll out those old tired muscles and you don't want to go with that old lacrosse ball. They're also coming out with that very new product that you can see right in front of you. And if I head on over to my cart, look at that. I've already got a Vertiball over there. Little bit of a deal right there. And if you hit the try for 60 days risk-free, use the promo code FNP, you're going to get 20% off your order with that code FNP at simbody.com. You're really, really helping out another local company here in New Brunswick, Canada. Can't wait for it. The new name, SimBody at simbody.com. And as we always say, let's get into it.
Oh,
Big time right hands, Michael Chandler.
Oh, they've both been hurt this time.
Oh my God. Already. Oh my gosh. Glover Teixeira is the light heavyweight champion of the world.
Poirier, he's
Holy
missing a
smokes.
lot, though. He is missing a lot.
Oh!
He put him down!
That's it, Poirier beats Conor McGregor.
Has done it! He put the down! Stephen A. Smith wants this fight! That's the best 155-pounder I've ever seen! Oliveira's gonna get through. Oh! He dropped Chandler! Oh! Here's Michael Chandler! The first punch he threw. Oh, he gets him! Chandler's turning against the game! Oh my God! He dropped him! Oh, Chandler! Oh my God! Oh! Charles Oliveira, your champion! Holy smokes!
And welcome back with Fight Night Picks. Listen, we got Josh Emmett taking on the man himself, Dan Ige, right now. VTJD having fun over in the comments section. Maybe, maybe not. But it's an insane fight that we've had so far. I mean, Dan Ige had a decent round apart from getting dropped early on in that round. So, yeah, it was a bit of an interesting start. And now Ige having a little bit more success.
He is, but you gotta worry every time you fight a guy like Josh Emmett. You're always one punch away from getting knocked out. And that's the problem with Dan Ige. When he's in the pocket, he can have great success because he's got good hand speed. But boy, you gotta worry about walking into one of those big overhand rights from Emmett.
That's one of those ones. I mean, 4 minutes and 26 seconds so far here. And everybody over there in the comments section having a good time. It should be a great main card. YouTube decided to cut all those 5-minute intervals that they had that you could schedule some of these live shows. So we're here starting a little bit earlier than normal, but we get the later stages of this fight between Dan Ige and Josh Emmett. And I mean, so far, it's been an absolute banger. VT asking, what do we make of the card so far?
Really
I mean,
good.
the picks have been positive. Some of them haven't been the greatest, but still, it's been a really good card. It really
Yeah,
has.
entertainment-wise, like, it's been a great card.
Munoz and Cruz was an amazing fight.
It really was. Like, there's been a lot of great fights up and down the card. Tai Tuivasa looked great. Our writers said we've got to give him his respect, but we really do. Like, Tuivasa has made a bunch of improvements throughout his MMA career.
Dan Ige here going for the takedown attempt on Emmett. Emmett able to stuff it here so far, but we'll see how they make out on the break. Big time left hand there from Emmett.
Yeah, every time Emmett lands, it's with big power.
Yeah, it's like...
Oh, big left hook. That one might have hurt
Dan Ige
Emmett.
stuns him.
Yeah, he definitely hurt him. Emmett's moving backwards. Just winging right hands now.
Man, this is a wild fight. Dan Ige's got him hurt.
He does. If he can string something together, he might be able to get him out of there. Emmett still looks wobbly on his feet, but Ige's not going for the kill.
Oh,
Going for
Dan
the
Ige
takedown.
going for a takedown attempt.
Hasn't got one yet.
Went to the school of Extreme Couture's Justin James on that one.
Yeah, not the best idea, but still. Emmett was definitely hurt by that shot. He was wobbly.
Man, Josh Emmett here. I mean, in this fight, big time left on the break. It's been that left hand every single time on that break.
It definitely has. That's landed a lot. Still, that overhand right that dropped him at the start, something you
But I
always
mean,
gotta worry.
if you had no idea of all the kind of trials and tribulations that Josh Emmett went through in the last 2 years, like if you didn't know that he took a year off, then he had the patellar injury, and now we're here. I mean, Sean Strickland's one of those guys. I mean, he has half a patella. Like, really, he does. It's his kneecap. He has half it from that motorcycle accident. Since then, he's come back even stronger. So for Josh Emmett here tonight, I mean, especially rocking Ige early, so far, we pretty much had what we had in our last fight. Munoz able to get the knockdown early in the fight against Cruz, too, really. Face-planted him with one of them, and so far, Ige's roared back strong from that, and the adversity out of some of the wrestling, too.
I was going to say now, I don't love the takedown attempts from Dan Ige, though, because Josh Emmett has about as lights out a takedown defense as you could possibly have in the UFC, so after you hurt a guy, I don't love him going for a takedown.
No, and that's it. Rob G saying, what minute, second are we on? On this one, it's a bit of a one-off with the prelims. Get the graphics set up for the main card, but right now, 150 remaining in the second round. And for Dan Ige, he landed another left hand.
Yeah, that left hand from Ige has been money all night.
Disguising it really well, too. And for Josh Emmett, he's got his right arm just down ever so slightly.
Just always ready to throw, but it's sort of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, for both of these guys, if we're fighting out of an orthodox stance, they're both having success with that lead hook.
Yeah, definitely. Good call. Goodness.
Emmett, and it's hard. And again, we'll have to kind of go back, and it's really difficult to make the call as the fight's going on, but he almost looks a touch slow in this round.
He does a little bit, but he's just waiting a lot on Ige. And really, this fight's been whoever's moving forward has been having success. Emmett moves forward, first minute of the fight drops Ige. Ige moves forward, landing a combination. So really, whoever's taken that forward step's been able to win so far.
100%. Minute remaining in our second round here between Ige and Emmett. And I mean, realistically, for both of these guys, great to see Ige kind of fighting through adversity. His last fight, main event, loses to Korean Zombie. For Josh Emmett,
both guys landed big there.
The last 2 years have been insane, especially 2020 into this year. But, I mean, a great job of coming back. They show the stats for this round. Ige ahead in terms of significant strikes.
Ige looks a lot more damaged, though.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he has looked like the quicker fighter, and he's landed some really good strikes here in this round. 30 seconds remaining. If Emmett's able to land something big, he could just win himself the round.
He could. I do think Ige did win himself this round, though, at least by hurting Emmett, because that was by far the most significant event of this round. But both rounds have been close. Like, I know Emmett hurt Ige in the first, but Ige still did great work. And then same thing vice versa. Ige hurt Emmett this round, but Emmett still done great work.
Emmett doing a good job. Lands a couple of combos in tight.
I think he might have caught him with a left hook right there, too.
That was a speedy right. Ooh, another right hand lands for Dan Ige.
Both guys have landed some clean shots. These guys both have great chins. They proved that in this fight.
We'll have a look at the stats here so far through 2 rounds. And I mean, listen, we're not to the prelim portion yet. Danny Ige stepping ahead in terms of the total strikes. They were somewhat close in the second.
And this is my question for you, because this is sort of a weird thing about MMA scoring and MMA stats as a whole. Like, I think we can both agree, Emmett won the first round, he hurts Ige. Ige still has a good round, and then vice versa. Ige hurts Emmett's second round, but Emmett still has a good round. So 1 round apiece going into the third. Isn't it hard to judge these guys based on their significant strikes, though? Because I think we can both agree, Ige hits hard, but I would say one Josh Emmett significant strike is much more significant than one Dan Ige significant strike.
Yeah, and it definitely is. I mean, 100%. Over there in the comments section, Tovon's hanging out. Finally home watching the fights, editing a video, and listening to the Allen Bros. A real one out there in the MMA world. And if you're not checking out his content, it's some of my favorite out there.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite Twitter accounts out there. You definitely got to check it out.
All right, Matt. We'll get set for our third and final round between these two guys. Obviously, for us, it's more of a main card focus with these Fight Night Picks companions. You get a little bit more of Dan Ige landing a flush left hook. I'm going to let the people over on the Instagram know about this one, Matt, but we have a big-time barn burner in front of us.
We definitely do, and it all comes down to this third round, very similar to our last fight as well, both guys hurting each other, and then the fight coming down to the third, but Emmett's looking fresh. He's very unique. He's not a high-volume guy by any means. He does do a little bit of pitter-patter on the outside, but he does have very good cardio for someone who is such a heavy power puncher.
And that's it. The Michael Johnson fight, a perfect example, that one.
Yeah, 100%. But Dan Ige, just such a steady fighter. Like, the guy you see in the third round, even the fourth and fifth round, like we've seen in his main event fights, I should say, he still is a consistent fighter. Like, if you see him in the second round, he's going to be that same guy in the fifth round, too. And that's what you love about Ige.
Emmett firing back here.
Ooh, big right hand by Emmett. Goodness, Dan Ige's got a chin, though.
Ige doing a great job. They show the live odds minus 295 for Ige. I mean,
isn't that surprising? We have it 1 round apiece. Both guys are fairly fresh in the third round. Like, that's a bit of a hot take by the odds makers.
Really nice jab there from Ige to start the round.
And that's
nice
the
leg
thing.
kick, too.
When Ige's moving forward, when he's initiating these exchanges, he's going to have great success. But when he's waiting on Emmett, that's when he started eating those big bombs.
100%. Ige, Emmett here. Emmett trying to measure him. He's taking his time, though. A little bit of a surprise to me that there's not more of a sense of urgency after so long away.
Yeah, true. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more takedown attempts from Ige. But, I mean, he did get them all stuffed in the first round, so I guess it's not that surprising. But it was a part of his game early, and he just completely left it so far. Go big right hand by Emmett. That hurt Ige. Hit him right on the chin.
Ooh.
Almost caught him with a knee in that clinch, though. Ooh. Every time Emmett lands, you think the fight's going to be over.
Josh Emmett doing a great job here in this third round. Dan Ige pumping that jab out there.
But the live odds makers have Dan Ige as a 3-1 favorite.
It is what it is.
Is Yanni the Greek making those odds?
I could not tell you.
Not to
We have
call
a
him
really
Yanni,
close fight
but-
on our hands, though.
We definitely do.
Josh Emmett really starting to throw himself out there. And he's one of those guys, too. I mean, he's so compact. He's so top-heavy. But when he extends himself into those overhands, man, you better get out of the way or have an iron chin, which apparently Dan Ige possesses.
It was kind of like what we talked about with Jordan Wright and Bruno Silva. Like, Jordan Wright just backs straight out of exchanges. If you do that against Josh Emmett, you're going to get knocked out.
JD, we appreciate you as
Thank
well.
you,
Listen, we
JD.
just like hanging out on these fight companions, having a conversation with you guys
Exactly.
over there. Fight of the night so far, it's hard to say because it just happened, but
this
to
could
me, it's
be.
Munoz Cruz.
I think this is probably going to end up being it.
Ige really chasing it. Oh,
Both
Josh
got
Emmett landing with some power.
That's the thing. Every time Ige really does dedicate himself to one of these exchanges, he's running the risk of eating a big shot.
Dan Ige in here. Josh Emmett starting to pull away with some of these strikes. Let us know what your fight of the night is so far. Ooh, big left
Exactly.
hand.
Ooh, good right, too, from Emmett. Both guys busted up, though.
Emmett really starting to pour it on, but yeah, I mean, you see the bloody nose there from Emmett in this round.
And both guys are definitely taking some damage this fight. That's the thing, they're both so good. Like, we were saying this before the fight even started and in the question mark kicks. Like, this could be a 5-round fight, nobody would bat an eye at it.
Dan Ige moving, jumping and bouncing, bobbing and weaving.
Ige might need to hurt Emmett with about 90 seconds left in this round.
142. Ooh, big left hand there from Ige. Emmett knows that he's got to come back in some of these exchanges, too.
Exactly, and I'm surprised Ige hasn't thrown the left hook more this round. It was landing all the time in the second one, so you'd think he'd throw it a little bit more.
Southpaw here switches back to orthodox. Minute 30 remaining in the third round.
This could be a hard fight to score.
100%.
But you can tell Ige doesn't really want to get into these big exchanges with Emmett. He doesn't really like eating that power.
Needs to land something clean. Goes for a takedown attempt.
Is that the best idea?
No bueno. Big uppercut, though, for Ige.
Good uppercut.
Miss big.
Emmett might be fatiguing a little bit.
VT saying the striking numbers favor Ige. They did after 2 rounds. It was in and around 44-29, if I'm not mistaken. Those takedown feints from Dan Ige are drawing giant reactions
But that
out of
was a
Emmett.
nice defense out of Emmett.
But the trouble is, there's only 50 seconds left in the round. He's got to start to pour something on.
I think so, yeah.
This is going to be a really hard round to score.
I have no idea who's up in this round, if I'm being honest. Normally, I'll give an opinion, but like both guys have landed a lot of clean shots. I'm kind of edging Emmett, though.
Emmett pushing forward. 30 seconds remaining in our third round. We getting some elbow fakes? Ooh, Dan
Oh,
Ige
he
with
almost
the
ducked
attempt.
right into that. Josh Emmett feinting a head kick as well.
20 seconds remaining.
Yeah, this could be a tough fight. to
Ooh, another nice left hand lands for Dan. Ooh, Dan
Good
Ige.
uppercut, too. That's big. In a very close round, a very close fight, those are big moments.
Man, these guys are landing.
8 seconds left.
5. Ooh, big motions from both guys. That's a hard fight to score.
That really is.
Let's have a
Great
look at the
fight from
numbers.
both guys.
Now again, these numbers don't mean a whole heck of a lot. You have to be completely honest when
Because
you
you
look at
judge by
stuff
round,
like this.
not by a total.
If Josh Emmett doesn't win this fight, he won a lot of stock in a lot of people's minds. Because again, last time he went out there, had that great performance against Shane Burgos, but considering everything he's been through, that's a giant win. Further to that, if he wins this fight, I mean, he's got no easy task ahead of him. Did they try and match up that Yair Rodriguez fight?
That'd be a tough fight for him, just based on how good Yair looked against Max, even in a losing performance. But that's the weird thing about this fight. We sort of talked about this during question mark kicks. With Ige, I hate to say this, but Dan Ige's really, really good, but I'd say he's a step short of great, if that's okay, because when he does fight those upper echelon guys, he normally does come a little bit short. He wasn't able to beat Cater, he wasn't able to beat the Korean Zombie. Now, catering the zombie fight in sort of a similar manner, so maybe just a stylistic issue for him, but you get the idea. Like, we sort of know the limitations of Ige, whereas with Emmett, there's a lot of fresh matchups out there that we haven't seen yet, and hey, like you said, maybe a Yair Rodriguez matchup, if you are able to win that, that gets you right up there into, like, the top 3. That's in title talk, so whoever wins this fight is probably got a big opportunity on their hands next, but I have no idea who won this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough one. It looks like Buffer's back there. There he is.
He's ready.
All right, not going to look at Twitter, and hopefully nobody fills that comment section.
I think Josh Emmett won this 29-28. I'll say a split decision.
I think Ige won at 29-28.
Fair enough. I thought Emmett hurt him in the third, which got him that, and then he hurt him in the first, but I thought number 2 was Ige. Trust me, for the predictions, I'd love Ige to win, but I think Emmett did a little bit more in that third round.
I'm not looking at the comments section right now. I'm focused on Buffer, Ige, and Emmett.
Whoever tells me first is all I care about, so I'll just look at both.
Oh.
Great fight, though.
You know it's all 29-28. Such a close fight.
I hope Klay Thompson comes back like Josh Emmett did after all his leg injuries.
Josh Emmett, your winner. Son of a gun, but what a good fight there. And I mean, hey, a great performance by Josh Emmett in the comeback.
Oh, yeah, that was a great fight. And yeah, like you said, really nice performance. He came back and looked like the Josh Emmett of old, which is really nice to see. Like, it would have been a shame if he came back and looked like Shaquille O'Neal with the Boston Celtics, who, oddly enough, only played about 50 games with him, but we were fortunate enough to see one of them. Yeah, it was nice to see Emmett come back. And there's a ton of great matchups for him out there. Like, could you imagine the Korean Zombie versus Josh Emmett? I think that's the fight we'd all get excited for. So, yeah, that was a great fight.
Big win there. You got Sean McMinn over in the super chat. Sean, we definitely appreciate you. Chris saying bit of a robbery.
Really?
I don't know if I call it robbery. Again, if you look at it, the third round was really, really close. That's a tough one.
It is. Both guys landed big shots. And yeah, the significant strikes are slightly skewed towards Ige, but you have to think, fights are judged by round, not by totals. So... 30-27 is a little tough. But
if there was a 30-27 for Dan Ige because we had the sound off, then that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, no,
for Josh Emmett, that's ridiculous.
The outcome would still be the same if it was 29-28 or 30-27, but still. Yeah, that's a bit of a ridiculous scorecard. Great fight, though. And yeah, so you would like to see Emmett versus Rodriguez next?
Yeah, that would be it for me. Chris, I agree with you over there in the comments section. I mean, to me... I had it for Ige, but a very, very close fight. And I mean, we have such an interesting card coming up with this main card. UFC 269, I mean, Charles Oliveira taking on the man himself, Dustin Poirier, in the main event. Amanda Nunes looking to defend her belt. And of course, you know what by now, I mean, Sean O'Malley taking on Raulian Paiva. Such an interesting fight because for Raulian Paiva... Listen, I mean, his path to this fight is a little weird. I mean, Sean O'Malley was matched up with Louis Smolka this past summer, a fight I bet he wished he actually had. Chris saying Craig, 2 judges gave him 30-27.
Oh, Craig's going to get on Twitter and cause...
Well, I don't know if I like that. But, Matt, this Raulian Paiva fight, I mean, Paiva got 10-8'd in the first round. Second round, third round, he was able to win. I mean, his opponent, Kyler Phillips, a training partner, Sean O'Malley, was absolutely winded. Now, everything that I said was true, except for one of those things, because one of the judges actually scored that first round of 10-8, but the other 2, unfortunately for me, and my statement did not. So Paiva the winner, majority decision, 229-28, 128-28, and now we have Paiva versus O'Malley, and Dimitar is saying no interview, LOL. It's just because they ran out of time. I mean,
yeah, that had nothing to do with
as soon as the bell strikes 10, that's when this pay-per-view kicks off. So when I look at this one, Matt, big fight between Paiva and O'Malley, but for Paiva, he's had a couple of those fights, right? The fight against Shumagulov, the fight that he had against Kyler Phillips. He won them, but there's some question marks. If he beats Sean O'Malley here, it's only big fights from here on out.
Exactly. But this is a huge ask. Like, Sean O'Malley, I forget what other fighter, Dustin Jacoby. He's the 16th ranked light heavyweight, right?
Yeah,
Like, exactly. If you beat him, you're in the top 15. If you lose to him, you're probably not in the top 15. But he himself will probably never truly be a top 15 fighter. You know, that kind of makes sense in my head. Sean O'Malley right now is the 16th ranked bantamweight. Like, if he wants to get to the top 15, he will be able to do so. But they're bringing him up slowly, which it makes a lot of sense to me, I guess. Just, they've had cash cows get brought up too fast in the past, who have fizzled out and lost, and we all know what happens there. Then Sage Northcutt gets shipped off to one championship and gets brutally knocked out. I just think Dana White knows what he's doing in this fight. They gave Sean O'Malley like an underhand toss of a matchup, and I think he's going to destroy Paiva. I really do. I think this is as one-sided as Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. I really do.
So there was only one 30-27. Only one. Good to know. Matt Paiva taking on O'Malley. It's an interesting fight. I'm more interested in this. I mean, you have the former bantamweight champ, Cody Garbrandt. You looked at how good Dominic Cruz looked after the knockdowns. And I mean, Cody Garbrandt was able to figure that puzzle out himself. And then he was able to stunt on that. So it's absolutely insane. But that's a fight that I go back to. And it seems like everybody else goes back to when you think a prime an absolute pinnacle Cody Garbrandt. Now, before that, he was just starching guys quick. And he was billed as this wrestler that can also knock everybody out. Now we look at Kai Kara-France, a guy that doesn't know a boring fight. I mean, watch his fight against Rogerio Bontorin if you want one of those ones. He was almost finished, what, once, twice, 3 times a lady? And then if you look at his fight that he had against, and this is the one that you really brought up, can you focus on it a little bit? The fight that he had against Brandon Royval, I mean, that one was insane.
Exactly. He drops Royval with an overhand right. What was it? The first punch he threw in the whole entire fight. Royval gets up, drops him with a spinning elbow, and then we're off to the races. And the thing about Kai Kara-France is that he is fairly well-rounded. I know he comes from City Kickboxing, so people just assume, like, hey, he is only a striker. And I gotta be honest, I see him. He's less of a striking specialist. Although he is a primary striker, he will incorporate the takedown a little bit more. He is a little bit more grappling heavy than some other guys from that gym, but I don't look at him as like the pinnacle of striking in his division, as you might look at like an Israel Adesanya. Maybe not Dan Hooker, but you still get the idea. Like, Dan Hooker's one of the best strikers in the lightweight division. Maybe he's not the best MMA fighter, but he's got really good striking. With Kai, it's going to be interesting to see if he can hurt Garbrandt, especially Garbrandt down at 125 pounds, because the last time we saw an elite 125 or 135 or so move down to 125 pounds, it was TJ, and it was terrible. He gets head kicked, he gets dropped, he gets finished, he does steroids. We all know the story. So,
didn't do steroids, he did EPO.
My bad. Did performance-enhancing drugs. So, for Garbrandt, I mean, he's probably going to do better than TJ, which is good for him, but it'll be a really interesting fight.
We'll go over to the comment section because, listen, Queen Radiant saying I won my picks on the first 3 fights, lost the next 3 in a row, won the last 3. I'm doing pretty good. I never bet money, though. Listen, join the club on the picking end of things, and listen, you subbed in Question Mark Kicks. We really appreciate having you here in the show, and also to Daniel Wright as well, who's joining in. Do you know David? He is the king of New York.
He is.
Just hitting triples and playing third base. Matt.
He had a bad back, though, didn't he?
He had a lot of injuries. This should be a great fight. Druma Fitness, let's go, boys. You were a giant supporter over there on Question Mark Kicks. Thanks so much for that super chat. I mean, so far, Matt, we've had a so-so prelims. We're tied all the way through. 9 total fights, and we're both what? Let me check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4. It hasn't been all that great.
Hey, we're positive, though.
It's not one of the best nights, but we still have 5 big fights left. You can end up with a 10-4 night, and then you're laughing all the way to
like me and Halo. As long as I'm positive at the end of the game, that's all I care about.
You're laughing all the way until the graphic goes out at the end of the night. But that's the biggest thing with Fight Night Picks and with everybody out there in the comment section. You guys know us well by now. I mean, we have a bad night. Like
we break it down like D-Generation X, okay? It's not always about who's right and who's wrong. It's just about trying to figure out how it's gonna go.
Rob G, I'm gonna answer your question in 2 seconds. Every single week in the YouTube community tab, those results are out there. So the Uriah Hall, Sean Strickland card when we went 1-8-1. That's out there. UFC 266, if I'm not mistaken, I went 11-2 or 10-3-1.
I had at least one perfect card this year.
Yeah, and Matt has a perfect card. But regardless, some of them are good and some of them aren't. Now, Rob G, do you ever miss the Gladiator UFC intro? When we get into MMA, Matt, when Ryan Bader was at his peak in UFC, that's when they used to have that intro. I absolutely love that.
It was awesome. I was a big fan. Isn't it wild to think, like, how long ago that was when Ryan Bader was in the UFC? Like, it's what? These kids nowadays don't understand just how good Ryan Bader was. There was a point in time where it was going to come down to Ryan Bader or John Jones was going to rule the light heavyweight division for years to come. Now, turns out John Jones is maybe one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time, and Ryan Bader's not too bad, but just wild to think about how far we've come.
Well, Matt, we've got a big-time fight. Jeff Neal taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio. The QMK parlay is no more. I got dusted with Randy Costa's cardio. Did not hold up against Tony Kelly. However, the second leg was to be Santiago Ponzinibbio incognito saying, can't wait to get into it. So, Matt, Jeff Neal, Santiago Ponzinibbio. This was the one that I was more on the fence on. As opposed to Costa Kelly.
So wait, I should switch my pick now?
No. But now in hindsight, it feels awfully silly. But Matt, for Santiago Ponzinibbio, just my 2 cents hanging out over in the comment section. But Matt, when I focus on this fight, Ponzinibbio looked bad against Li Jingliang. He
did.
The ring rust was there, stiff was there, and then he comes out against Miguel Baeza, eats some big shots, and then ends up finishing that fight. And for Miguel Baeza, such a shame that he lost to Chaos Williams the way that he did, because he's a very fun fighter to watch. Now, for Jeff Neal, he doesn't want to end up in that place where you're on a 3-fight losing streak all of a sudden, like Augusto Sakai earlier on this card. How the mighty have fallen from 2 main events to a prelim spot to losing. And now for Sakai, who was ranked 11th going into that fight, fighting an unranked fighter. I mean, Tanner Boser next, maybe, if he's not booked up. Like, it really is hard for him. Now, Matt, when I look at this fight...
Here's what I will say, though. If Jeff Neal loses to Ponzinibbio, he won't lose as much stock, I don't feel, as Sakai did losing to Tuivasa. Because for Ponzinibbio, we all know what his potential is, and we all know how good he can be on his best day. Whereas Tuivasa, to me, like, it didn't feel like he was knocking on the door of the top 15. It just felt like that was a fun fight to put together. Whereas with Ponzinibbio, it does feel like he is the 16th, 17th ranked welterweight. So I don't think Jeff Neal's, like... I don't think he gets cut if he loses this fight. You know what I mean? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and I mean, definitely not. But you see it over there. Chris Singh Bam Bam came through in a big spot to slide into the rankings. It was a giant win there for him. Now, if we go back...
Pena looks nervous.
Let's go back up. It was kind of like Megan Anderson did, because they're putting so much light on her. Queen Radiant saying, I picked Miranda, but Aaron just steamrolled. And yeah, she did look good in that fight. But your picks were there earlier. Matt, can you find them?
What, sorry?
Right there. You're taking Sean O'Malley,
Cody, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Juliana Pena, wow, and Charles Oliveira. Here's the thing. I would say on all the fights in the main card, the one that I had the hardest time with was the main event, because we know how good Oliveira is. His stand-up is basically a 10 out of 10. Same thing with his ground game. Like, he's great at everything. Same thing has to be said for Poirier. With the co-main event, I have no idea how Juliana Pena will beat Amanda Nunes. So please... give me how you think the fight's going to go. Because I genuinely am curious what you think her best avenue
But a good point that the girls are rocking tonight. I mean, that fight between Maverick and Blanchfield, it was so much confusion on my part as to what you want Maverick to grapple in this?
Well, it was kind of confusing. Like, Maverick started initiating some of these clinches, and you're going, okay, well, Blanchfield dominated you on the mat in the first round. What are we doing? But this is what I will say. Blanchfield looks like a very exciting prospect. Like, with her, and I know they kept on saying this, she's only 22, but it's true. When you're that good and that young, like, she's younger than I am. That's wild to think about. And she's this good so far. Like, you hate saying, oh, she could be a champion one day just because there is so far to go, but she has top 15 written all over her future.
And I mean, it's going to be funny. You know, you're going to see the people out there in the comments section because... we focus so much on Josh Emmett getting ready for his fight against Dan Ige and not really giving Ige his shine. Now, depending on how you see that fight, that's neither here nor there. We'll bring that up in their respective next fights. But when we look at that Blanchfield fight against Maverick, I just find myself going in my head over and over again. I said so many things about Erin Blanchfield, but why didn't I pick her? But Matt,
I'm happy I picked her.
Now we come into this fight. We have Nunes taking on Pena. Queen Radiant saying, I think Juliana is going to strangle her. But for me... I do have a hard time seeing Pena winning. It would be interesting. It would shake things up. It would shake the core of the earth. And Matt, there's a poster with Kayla Harrison's face on it in the corner of this office.
Kayla Harrison would lose millions of dollars if Juliana Pena won tonight.
Yeah, I mean, really, true. She would. So we'll get to see this fight coming up. But Matt, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I mean, Charles Oliveira taking on the man himself, Dustin Poirier. This is such a good fight. This is the one where you sit back, you watch it, you eat your popcorn, and you just go insane when somebody wins this one, because for either guy, I think this is going to be an amazing fight between these two. I mean, for Charles Oliveira, the broadcast actually touched on it that, you know, Poirier only has one way to win, so on and so forth. He's got to win it by knockout. But when you do look at this one, I mean, Poirier has a lot of different ways to win, and you can never say never. Fluffy Hernandez submitted Rodolfo Vieira. Who was it the other weekend? Submitted the longtime Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. Like, it happens. It does. But in this fight, I don't necessarily see it happening. But, I mean, you look at these two guys. Oliveira's Muay Thai against the boxing and the defensiveness that Poirier is able to employ in his fights. That's what makes this one so much fun.
It's one of the highest skill fights you can put together in the whole of the UFC. And no matter what division either. And the great thing about both guys is that they're both very technical, but they're both very exciting too. I don't care who you're rooting for. You're excited for this fight because you think it's going to be a very good fight. And The problem with Oliveira, though, is we don't know what he looks like in those later rounds. He is somewhat unproven in the 4th, 5th, and even really later 3rd round because he is so much of a finisher. Now, that's a testament to just how high level he is on the mat and on the feet, but it'll be interesting to see what happens if he isn't able to get that finish in the first 2 rounds. What does he look like in the 4th round of a Dustin Poirier fight? Because the one thing about Poirier is that he just constantly damages you. It's just this sustained attack where he's always hurting you every round. He's throwing elbows, knees. He just makes the fight really, really ugly. And yeah, he's got technical boxing, but he's got great overhands. He's a really good fighter. And I think this is going to be a great matchup. So I wouldn't be surprised no matter what the outcome is. I just think it's going to be a great fight.
And I mean, it should be a great one. We have Raulian Paiva punching air in front of a camera mat. He's going to be taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley, who's wearing undefeated jerseys. He's the, or what is he?
12-0.
No, but what are they calling him? He's the champ of the unranked. And I mean, listen, there's a lot of champs of the unranked out there in the world. They're just not ranked yet. I mean, Dustin Jacoby, he's out there. But there are so many great fighters.
Olashaychuk.
And Matt, when we look at this fight, you have Sean O'Malley taking on Raulian Paiva. For O'Malley, so well-rounded, but like a lot of fighters out there, we just don't get to see certain dimensions of his game that are talked about so much.
I don't think he's that well-rounded, Craig. I think he's a striking specialist at the end of the day. Like, yes, he can do everything. I'll give you that. But, like, I don't expect Sean O'Malley to ever start shooting double legs in his fight unless he's fighting Piotr Yan and just get lit up on the feet. Because he's such a good striker on the outside. He's got great kicks. And he doesn't just have leg kicks or just have body or head kicks. He is a 3-level striker. He can get it done at all different levels. And I think he's going to make very short work of Raulian Paiva. It's just unfortunate because when you're a really good striker and a really good counter striker, fighting a guy who is smaller than you, it's just going to make those windows that much bigger. And I do see him stopping Paiva at some point, be it on the back foot or moving forward.
And I mean, you know what? For the heck of it, let's have a look at those numbers because O'Malley is going to have the height advantage. He's going to have the reach advantage. Raulian Paiva, the longtime flyweight coming into the UFC. He had a great fight against Alon Nascimento. If you haven't gone back to see it, Brazilian Contender Series. It was a lot of fun. But Matt, in a fight like this for Paiva, he definitely has his work cut out for him. His biggest spot so far in the UFC. And listen, I didn't see him beating Kyler Phillips. I would have never seen that one coming. He was able to get it done and pass that test with flying colors. So if you wanted to go with a Rickyism, you could say with flying carpets. But it was such a big-time win for him there. Depending, again, on how you scored it, you get those win percentages for these two guys. And like you had said, I mean, the finishing rate by knockout for O'Malley, the way that he was able to go out there against Thomas Almeida, of all people, finish that fight, it was definitely a big-time one out there. Matt, should be a big-time fight coming up. But it's one of those ones where, for O'Malley, you beat Raulian Paiva. And again, the UFC's gone with the AJ McKee plan on him, which is something that they don't normally do.
True.
I mean, with Khamzat Chimaev and Sean O'Malley, there's two major differences. One, Sean O'Malley's from the States. He's got tattoos. He's got crazy hair. You get to see him up there on the screen right now. For Khamzat Chimaev, he has this quietness about him, but also the cockiness. He's not in your face. He's not out there with the big call-outs, the bravado. But when you look at those two guys, Khamzat's going out there and finishing fights as quick as a person can.
Not getting hit.
And Sean O'Malley's going out there and putting on very impressive performances, but leaving himself out there a little bit in the cage, so to speak. So when I look at this fight, for O'Malley, you beat Paiva. To me, I assume you have to fight a 15-10 ranked person.
I would assume. Or Adrian Yanez next, because it seems like he's been trying to build that fight up, at least during the fight week. This is the thing about Sean O'Malley, and I'd like to get your opinion on it. I can see him having two very different careers, and not just based on the result of this fight. It could happen after this, but I see him reaching a point where he either becomes like Matt Brown, where you just have a ton of fight of the nights and you can't really reach the apex of the division, or he could actually go on and maybe eventually challenge for the title. I do see it going down one of those two things, because that's the thing about O'Malley. He gets hit, and he does have fun fights. Like, he's not this untouchable guy just getting in, getting out, super surgical all the time. So, I could see him getting to a point where, yeah, he's looking really good. Yeah, he's having a lot of fun fights, but maybe he does fight like a Corey Sandhagen, gets demolished, and then it kind of brings him back down. He just has a lot of fight of the night, just sort of those outside top 15 guys or borderline top 15 guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm very curious to see what the ceiling ultimately is for Sean O'Malley.
And I mean, for Sean O'Malley, we get to find out tonight if he is indeed that diamond in the rough or if he's just a cubic zirconia. And for the people that ask the question, yeah, you're friggin' right, we watched Trailer Park Boys. I mean, they filmed the last few seasons up near Bible Hill, which is a 3-hour drive from where we're at.
My school cop was in the second movie.
So there's that too. Matt, Raulian, Paiva, Sean O'Malley, I mean, if we dive into some of these numbers a little bit more, you see those significant strike numbers.
Isn't that wild?
That's the silly thing. And I mean, you want the perfect example of Sean O'Malley going out there, putting on a great performance. He beat the tar out of poor Chris Mutino, and that's one of those fights that it pads the stat line. You get to see things like this, but if you look at it for O'Malley for those significant strike numbers, 230-70 his last fight, 86-25, against Thomas Almeida. Loses that fair fight. He's at a negative there. 13-4 against Wineland. 18-0 against Quinones. 63-25 against Sukumtoth. Against Tarian Ware in the UFC debut. 141-88. And over against Alfred Kashakian. Only beat him by one significant strike. But Matt, I mean, yeah, this is one of those fights where it's kind of weird when they figure out who's in what corner, because sometimes it has a bearing on something and sometimes it doesn't. You have O'Malley out of the blue corner tonight. Does he have a queen piece? A chest piece near his ear?
Yeah, he does.
Very interesting for O'Malley with the tattoos. But yeah, the question here, Slayer Sam saying, is Sean the pick?
Yeah.
Sean is the pick, but yeah, so far tonight there's been more right than wrong, but that's about all we can say by one.
Exactly.
All right, Matt. Sugar Show has entered the cage, and now we get Raulian Paiva, who I anticipate will have to walk through the booze. But Matt, for Paiva, I mean, we talked so much about O'Malley getting ready for this fight, and we've kind of slagged Raulian Paiva and some of the fights he's had. The Zhumagulov fight, who, listen, didn't fight his best fight last weekend, but hey.
Has 2 wives. Learn that.
No, he does not.
Yes, he does.
Have to look that one up.
It is. There was an article on it.
But when I look at this one, for Raulian Paiva, the Zhumagulov fight, the fight against Kyler Phillips, what can you take out of some of the big positives out of some of the other wins that Paiva has?
He's relentless with his attack, and that is the positive, because if Chris Mutino proved anything in his fight with O'Malley, you can chip away at him eventually. It is the Doris Burke effect, where if you get in close, you're going to chip the rock or break the rock. And if Paiva is able to get on the inside of O'Malley, he should be able to break him down, chip away at those windows, go to the body, go to the legs, because O'Malley, he's got great footwork similar to Dominic Cruz, and if you can limit the footwork, he becomes much more hittable.
I think what you need, we'll get you some water.
I do need water.
We'll move on, so I'll handle the show for a little bit, and yeah, grab some out of the old kitchen, Matt. But yeah, when we look at this fight, I mean, Raulian Paiva getting the entrance here, Brazil's own. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and he's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but definitely not an area of his game that we see all that often out of Paiva. He's much more comfortable as a striker. He gets the win over on Dana White's Contender Series to vault himself into the promotion. And then he loses 2 straight. One to Kai Kara-France, a very close fight. And then he loses to Rogerio Bontorin, where he just gets clipped, loses a bit of his eyebrow, and then that fight is stopped by the doctor. So for Paiva, since those 2 losses to make his way into the UFC, he's able to pick up 3 big-time wins, albeit one of them was big time and 2 of them were somewhat controversial, but here he finds himself in the biggest opportunity of his life. I mean, you have 2 title fights up at the top, and you're kicking off a main card. And for Drago saying, what do I think of Dominic? Great opportunity for him, I mean, to withstand the 2 knockdowns out of the first round, really push an absolute pace in the second and the third. I thought Dominic Cruz looked absolutely amazing his last time out tonight, I guess I should say. So a great job by Dominic Cruz in that fight. Matt makes the return. Matt squeaks the door. We're going to have to spray that one with a little bit of oil, as you do. But Matt, we'll switch it on over to our regular view for this one as you enter in the picture and Big Crosby gets an opportunity to pop in, because for Sean O'Malley and Raulian Paiva, this is one of those ones where, again, with a win, one would think you get a ranked opponent next. Again, Munoz just lost his last fight. Maybe.
Can you pull the rankings up? Is that possible? Just to try to figure out maybe the next potential opponent?
We can try and do that, and we'll do that as the fight goes on. But Matt, we get the particulars on these 2 fighters. We have Raulian Paiva. We have a man with many tattoos. And Jake is here to gloat and make fun of the boys. Yes, we had Sakai to win. And I'm pretty sure we also said it's one of the closest fights on the card, and I wouldn't bet my life on it. And I would sit there with pop and popcorn, but we did pick him. You're right, Jake, so got him.
Yeah, you gotta stop. Just sometimes you're wrong, Craig. You don't always gotta be, oh, poor me. What do you think Sean O'Malley's ceiling is right now? Like, before this fight, do you think he can be champion one day? Do you think he's a top 5 guy? Do you just think he will be sort of an action fighter moving forward? Like, where do you really
He
think...
could be a top 10 guy for sure. I just think there's going to be spots where you take on a guy... Like, a fight with Dominic Cruz could be close. Or a fight with Dominic Cruz could not be close. I mean, Casey Kenny, but they train together. They're friends, so you're not going to get that fight. I don't think a fight with Sung Yadong's a smart fight. You know, you see where I'm going with this? Styles make fights, matchups make matchups, and there's some of those ones that are really, really difficult as we get the final word and say on Raulian Paiva, this big-time fight coming up bantamweight. As you know with Fight Night Picks, what we'll be doing, we'll get rid of the logo in the middle. We'll start the timer as the round starts. I'll get rid of it now. We get set. And the man that we have as a referee, we have Jason Herzog, who refereed that weird Ryan Hall, Derek Minner fight that we had earlier on in the night. Here we go. Get set for our first fight on the main card. Paiva taking on Sugar Sean
Halle Berry in attendance.
Malley. Director, some would say. All right, here we go. We're getting set for our first round between Raulian Paiva and Sugar Sean O'Malley. O'Malley out of the southpaw stance. Quick body kick there. Paiva in the orthodox. And, I mean, it looks like Paiva really wants to try and crash that distance early.
He does, but O'Malley is towering over him. Like, the size discrepancy is huge.
And that's the thing. I mean, for Paiva, the former 125er at flyweight, he just had a hard time trying to make that weight, and now he finds himself here. First takedown attempt from Paiva, and O'Malley able to stuff it.
And good job by O'Malley using his feet to defend that takedown. What do we always say? The best way to defend a takedown is move your feet, use your footwork so that your opponent can't really get the position in the first place. So that was a great job by O'Malley. And he circled off the cage too. He didn't allow himself to just get held up against the cage.
All right, Matt. So we're 45 seconds into our first round. A little bit of a lag between us, the YouTubes, and the fights, but that is normal here. You're going to have to sync yourself up. And so far, we've seen a couple stance switches. That long jab there from Sugar Sean O'Malley, and that's going to be a big-time telling feature in this fight because once he starts to pump the jab out there, gets comfortable with distance, that's when you see him start to gain confidence and land in combination.
And that's the hardest thing about fighting Sean O'Malley. It's figuring out what's a jab, what's just him feinting, what's him setting things up as we get a pause in the action due to a low blow. Jason Herzog, one of the best in the business.
Raulian Paiva looking like it caught him flush. Now, the pause here that I have on our screen, it's 1 second off, but we'll get it right back on and ready. And now it looks like we're getting set for action here. So, Matt, now we're back on. And, I mean, for Raulian Paiva, pretty quick recovery.
It was. He got kicked clean.
Clean right in the cup.
Yeah.
O'Malley moving inside and out. Minute 30 in. That jab's finding a home.
It really is, but good job by Paiva. He at least is trying to move his head on the outside. That's what you have to do to try to close the distance. Good.
100%, Matt. And I mean, for Raulian Paiva, he continues to try and crash. He looks like he's trying to cut the cage and trying to land a couple of counters here in this one. Hasn't really been able to establish his game plan so far, almost 2 minutes in.
He hasn't been able to land yet, but he has come close with some big shots.
Raulian Paiva gets it in a Sean O'Malley fight. You got to make this one fun. You got to get O'Malley into it.
Exactly, because if you're just walking into his shots all night, you're going to get knocked out. If you force him to come at you first, then maybe you'll have more success.
Paiva really trying to fake with the right hand as well on some of these entries. Hasn't really thrown much, and he bites on a bit of a feint that O'Malley has with the body kick. Goes for an oblique kick of his own that lands.
Paiva's having a really hard time with the range right now.
Paiva continuing to pressure forward. 2:40 remaining in our first round. And yeah, Paiva whiffing at air like a wind turbine and eats another jab for his troubles. Sorry, that was a left cross.
Yeah, that was a nice straight by O'Malley. And O'Malley still hasn't got a total rhythm yet, but he definitely is the more comfortable guy right now.
And so far, it has been the straight shots of O'Malley to Paiva, who's just kind of winged things out there, not really able to find anything just yet. Nice teep kick from Paiva.
That was very nice. Good point. Do you think we'll see a takedown attempt from Paiva this round, or do you think he'll wait till later on in the fight?
Well, we already saw one earlier on. I think we will see another one. I mean, for Paiva, he's billed as a jiu-jitsu black belt. You don't really get to see it again. The last time we really saw Paiva grapple offensively, it was that Nascimento fight on Contender Series against Jumagulov. He was on the back foot a lot trying to defend some of those takedowns.
But he is one of the more hand-friendly or hand-happy jiu-jitsu guys out there. Like, that's not always a skill we like it with jiu-jitsu aces, but he definitely is happy to strike with most guys.
Javier Gomez, that is definitely appreciated. Ooh, O'Malley pulling in and out. And again, really pumping that jab out there. That's one of those ones you talk about it. The leg kicks, the jab. It's the Teddy Atlas. It's the water in the basement approach. And you love to see that. You soften your opponent up. And as you saw O'Malley do against Almeida as that fight goes on, ooh boy, it is difficult.
I was kind of thinking about this the other day too. I was watching, Craig's not gonna like this NBA comparison. I was watching Kevin Durant play the other day, and you know how the difference between like a star NBA player and a regular player is? They just think about a lot more. They can take a lot more into consideration. That's kind of like O'Malley on the feet with his striking. He's just thinking about so much at one time. He is feinting the jab, going to the leg, mixing it up so much. He's just making you think about so much.
Voodoo hanging out there in the comments section. We appreciate
What's
you
up,
tuning
Voodoo?
in from across the pond. And Paiva able to land, it looked like he did in those exchanges. But again, for Paiva, we saw this out of Pedro Munoz in the fight against Dominic Cruz. It's aim big, miss big, or aim big, hit big. Like, that's the trouble. That saying is used so much. And
Great hand by
whoa!
O'Malley. That was clean.
Sean O'Malley lands one heck of a right hand. We have a
Paiva's
burner.
hurt up against the cage.
Paiva's hurt.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the end for
O'Malley
Raulian Paiva.
just-
Sean O'Malley!
Wow, he's on fire, folks.
Welcome
Yeah,
to the
fight
Sugar
there.
Show. That's
He
a first round
destroyed
finish
Paiva.
for the man
Wow.
himself, Sean O'Malley. I mean, my goodness, what a win for Sean O'Malley. And he did that. It was jab, 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 and now we're going. He didn't even need the second or the third round. That is a really important performance. And again, there's going to be a lot of people moving forward. They're going to slag him on the level of competition here. So for me, again, we got to see it against a 10 to 15 type of opponent. But that is a big-time win right there.
Oh, yeah, he didn't hurt his stock tonight by any means, but it will be very interesting to see how he gets matched up moving forward. Do they keep on giving him sort of these borderline top 15 guys that they're fairly confident he can beat, or does he get another sort of Marlon Vera test? Now, I'm not saying they do the Marlon Vera rematch anytime soon, but you get the idea. Just give him another top fighter in the division. I know you threw out Song Yadong, said that's not a great fight, but I do... That's one of those prospect versus prospect fights that could headline a fight night card. I know that those guys are truly
Sean
special.
O'Malley's a pay-per-view guy, though.
Okay, good point.
So, I mean, for me, if you look at it, and I prefer using Tapology, and the only reason why is because you get to see who has matchups on the horizon. So, it doesn't necessarily depend on the UFC rankings. To me, I like Tapology for that reason. I used to use World MMA rankings, but sometimes they don't always update. They have fighters that aren't in the UFC, so on and so
would make
forth.
sense.
Marlon Moraes on a 3-fight losing streak by TKO. Frankie Edgar's on a 2-fight losing
But
streak.
doesn't that seem like
TKOs.
something Dana White would do? He's sitting there in his office going like, hey, Marlon gets knocked out a lot.
Moraes, you got to be specific because
Sorry.
above him you have Marlon
That's
Vera
true.
who's finished 2 fights in a row. Do you want to run that one back? Do you make a fight against Pedro Munoz? To me,
Not
yeah,
really.
I mean, Bennett's saying I don't think he wants the Vera rematch. For you, you were saying Marlon Moraes and not Marlon Vera. I'd be cool with that Vera fight, but it all depends on how Sean O'Malley is thinking about a fight like that.
Could he fight like Cody Stamen? No one wants
No.
to see that, because if he loses, it's going to be in a boring way. Again, I would like the Dominic Cruz fight. I know that sort of got thrown around a few months ago. Cruz has looked pretty good as of late, and I guess Cruz is probably looking towards the top of the division, not down, but I think that'd be a really fun fight. Cody Garbrandt's going to be out there, and again, that's really... He fights in, 5 minutes? So that's going to change quite a bit. But I think that'd be a fun fight. And the thing about Garbrandt, too, is, like, if he loses, does he move up in weight? Is it a close fight and he pulls a Jose Aldo and says, hey, maybe I'll stay down? Like, I guess we'll learn a lot about O'Malley's next opponent really in the next hour.
So if you look at it, I mean, Raoni Barcelos has the fight against Victor Henry that was just announced. Still weird that Raoni loses a fight against Timur Valiev, then he fights a UFC newcomer. Kyler Phillips is fighting our guy out of Argentina, Marcelo Rojo.
That's gonna
Cody
be fun.
Garbrandt, he moved down, of course. And then if you look at it, I mean, Cody Stamen's fighting Syed Nurmagomedov. So
Jack Shore would be a great fight.
if I'm not mistaken, he has a fight booked, does he not?
Darn.
Yeah, Jack Shore's got a fight coming up against Umar Nurmagomedov.
That's going to
So-
be a great fight.
For me, I think Edgar's ranked 13th. The Sun Tzu's somehow ranked 12th. Marlon Vera 11th. Marlon Moraes 10. Cruz
Moraes,
at 9.
I think
So
the Moraes fight's a good one.
a lot of different fights. You let us know over there. Queen saying I picked Dominic. What else? Rob Lawrence saying I just won off O'Malley. TKO, only one of the night. That'd be right there.
Well, that's good, bro.
Voodoo saying you'd like to see him fight Adrian Yanez. I think it's silly that Tony Kelly thinks he's going to get an Adrian Yanez fight because I think for me, Yanez is so close to the rankings and Kelly, unfortunately, is not. Even though he's on a win streak now, For me, I think O'Malley, again, one of those big-time names, a legend maybe, and then you get to find out, okay, is he at the Yair Rodriguez stage of his career, or is he here now? Because with a win like that over Paiva, just the way that he did it, threw those combinations together, I mean, listen, my guy Leonardo Santos did the same thing last week, and what happened to Leonardo in the second round? It just wasn't to be. So, for me, I'd love to see him fight one of those legends, or maybe a Moraes, but for Moraes at the same time, maybe he needs a UFC newcomer. Howney gets Victor Henry. Not an easy fight for Howney by any means. Victor Henry's a heck of a fighter.
Howney's pretty good, though.
So it'll be interesting to see what we get, but yeah, I'd like to see one of those big names out there next.
Yeah, I would too. It's a shame that he hasn't been able to fight a higher level of competition.
All right, Matt. Well, we've got a big-time fight coming up in our next one. I mean, Kai France taking on Cody Garbrandt. And Matt, Cody looked pretty good on the scale this week.
I thought he did too. Again, I was worried about his weight cut moving down to 125 pounds, but he looked better than I thought he would. And again, his durability is a massive question mark down at this weight class because
regardless, at 35.
True,
too.
but that's the thing. He's not a durable fighter. If there's one knock against Cody Garbrandt, okay, fight IQ. Maybe his output, maybe there's a few knocks, but you get the idea. Like, he's not the most durable fighter, and that is the biggest question mark around his game. And if you then dehydrate another 10 pounds from your body, that doesn't normally help somebody's ability to take a shot.
But the opposite side of the coin, easier path to the title. He was already booked in a title fight against Davison Figueiredo. We can't forget about that.
Would you want to fight Pantoja?
A win here against Kai France, you get your opportunity at the belt. One would assume. I mean, again, it is a very, very... It's a division where I like to think it moves a lot, but again, Askar Askarov, haven't seen him in a long time. Pantoja, it seems like a while where we haven't seen him. Rob Font fight against, maybe. Tommy Lee, who looks like Kim Coates, if you want another Canadian reference, so that's pretty interesting. Does he have face tats? I don't know who Anuel AA is, but if they have to say Latin global artist, then throw in the
he hangs out with Marlon Vera. Like, they're boys.
Pardon me for not knowing Anuel AA. All I do is study fights, man, in my spare time.
Then you should know who he is, because he's on Marlon Vera's Instagram.
I don't know. But either way, Matt, big time fight here. And again, if Kai France wins this fight, that's the thing. I mean, if we do look at the rankings right now, you see it. I mean, for Cody Garbrandt, ranked at bantamweight. For Kai France, ranked 6th in this division. Brandon Royval ahead of him. Perez ahead of him. Pantoja, Askarov, Figueiredo, and then your champ Moreno.
Askar.
It's tough to climb those rankings with a win here unless you're Cody Garbrandt based on the star value.
What's Alex Perez doing? It's just
Matt supposed to fight Matt Schnell.
I know, but Schnell's the one who dropped out of the fight, so I'm assuming Alex Perez is good to go. So
Perez missed weight though, wasn't that kind of crazy?
Oh, yeah, he did. So, probably because there's no motivation to fight. So, if you're having a tough weight cut, why go through it, you know? Like, I kind of get it, to be honest. If you know there's no fight to look forward to, like, why would you really put your body through it? I get it, I'm just saying.
Wouldn't have known, though.
But the Schnell fight got canceled before, I thought.
Perez missed weight yesterday.
Yes.
And then right after he missed weight, then, Schnell...
I'm just saying, I'm assuming Perez is able to go at some point.
You would think.
I would like to see him in there with the winner of this. It's been so long since we've seen Alex Perez in there with anybody, much less a top-level guy, that it would just be nice to kind of get a litmus test for how good he really is. Because if Kai France is able to beat Cody Garbrandt, it's going to be weird. How much is this win going to mean for Kai France in the grand scheme of things? Like, do you think this is really going to put him up the ranks? And I know it's hard to put him up the ranks, like you said, but is this going to be this big resume booster that some people believe it is? Or do you think some people will look at this as, hey, Cody Garbrandt, he's a little bit older, he's had trouble at 135, he's making... Yeah, maybe this isn't a late career panic move, but you get the idea. He's making a career change. Just... Do you think this is going to boost Kai France's public perception?
It's one of those ones. Again, we've seen guys pick up giant wins. And it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Like, Alex Morono goes from knocking out Cowboy Cerrone, and then a few months later, he's fighting Mickey Gall. So it really is hard to tell what a win means for you. But I would think for Kai France, you win this fight, you get... And that's tough. Like, Askar Askarov's not going to be an exciting fight. It's not going to be a fight that puts butts in seats. But a fight against Alessandro Pantoja would be. And I would see him having a hard time in that one. So for me... I think Kai France Pantoja, if he wins, it's a fight to make, and the winner gets a title shot. But
that'd be good.
Obviously, you already have Figueiredo taking on Moreno in the trilogy, so that's something. And for Garbrandt, I think if he wins this fight, he gets to skip the line, and he gets that title shot.
ahead of Figueiredo, like, trilogy, or like they wait for the Figueiredo trilogy?
Well, it's
and then
already
they
booked,
just-
so after that fight.
The weird thing about Garbrandt in a title fight is I oddly think that he has a better chance against Brandon Moreno than he does against Davison Figueiredo, just because the punching power difference between those two guys. I know Moreno dropped Figueiredo in the second fight, but still, I truly believe Figueiredo hits harder. It's just odd because I think Garbrandt's one of those guys, he kind of matches up well with Brandon Moreno, but I don't see his path to the title really, unless he does just jump frog or leapfrog everybody. Because if he does fight Kai Kara France, then they make him fight Pantoja. Well, Pantoja's Kai Kara France with a really good ground game. And then they make him fight Askar Askarov. Like, he's going to wrestle Cody Garbrandt. Like, it would be a very hard path to the title for Garbrandt if he doesn't just leapfrog everybody.
Dude saying the real winner of this main event is the fans, 100%. I mean, if we're talking about the main event, it's such a good fight. You see that win rate for Cody Garbrandt, so many by knockout. For Kai Kara France, he can get it done in a lot of different ways. But for him, again, he just tends to throw caution to the wind. I mean, we talked about it earlier. I started reading the book's in my bag. I'm going to find it here in 2 seconds just to show it off as an example. But when I was reading it, I thought of Kai Kara France when I was reading the chapter on Freddie Roach. Because Freddie Roach, as a fighter, was undefeated. He was knocking guys out. His first fight, he goes out there, he gets knocked out. And then it's like, well, now maybe I'm a little tentative. But for Kai Kara France, he's the opposite of that. He's the Justin Gaethje of this division, where it's just caution to the wind. I might win some, I might lose some, but it's going to be a really interesting one. Twin Cities saying, I know this at 125, but I believe Cody's going to go to 135 probably after the fight. If I could ask Cody Garbrandt one question, Matt, I'm gonna go with mine. We'll give you your question to him. He's never gonna hear this unless somebody knows him well. Mine would be, okay, win or lose this fight.
Yeah.
How tough was that weight cut for you? How tough was it? And how long did it take you to get your body adjusted to it? Really?
That would be your one question to Cody Garbrandt. For Cody Garbrandt, here's the thing.
How bad does a neck tattoo hurt?
Yeah, that would probably be my question. I'm glad you set it up by saying what you said. Because for Garbrandt, my question would be, do you think you can be champ at 125? Like, what's the biggest difference between flyweight and bantamweight? Because I don't know what he's going to do different at this division that's going to give him all the success. Because Garbrandt is a specialist. He's kind of like the Chris Davis. I know they're very different. It's hard to wrap your mind around that because one guy's all power, the other guy's kind of all speed. But with Garbrandt, he excels at being that over-aggressive boxer with very good hand speed. But when you are that over-aggressive boxer with really good hand speed, it leaves your head wide open for counter shots. And unfortunately, Garbrandt wasn't blessed with unnatural durability. And Kai Kara France kind of is. Like, that's the problem about this fight. And this is what I was going to say about you talking about Freddie Roach. Isn't it kind of weird? Like, the more we do these prediction videos, you realize that where guys are in their career kind of does matter about how they're going to fight. Like, with Garbrandt, and why I'm a little bit tentative on picking him in this fight is kind of like what you brought up. Like, Freddie Roach loses the one fight by knockout. He becomes a tentative fighter, and it changes sort of who he is. See there with Tyron Woodley. Like, Tyron Woodley for the last 6 years has been telling us that he's going to unload his right hand, but it just, at a certain point, you're not that guy anymore. With Garbrandt, yeah, I just don't know if he still is that championship fighter. He has changed so much, and there's so much difference surrounding Cody Garbrandt than what there was in late 2016 when he won the title, that I just don't know if he still is that guy.
And it's kind of crazy. I mean, you look at a guy like Cody Garbrandt, obviously the knockout losses, so on and so forth. It's not like he's had these big-time issues, so to speak. Like, I mean, you look at it for a guy like, and you love it when we bring this up, but a guy like TJ Grant, where he was up at the top of the mountain.
I love that.
But unfortunately, injuries kind of knocked him back down, and he was no longer able to compete. Like Ben Bishop today, I mean, really unfortunate there. That guy was a Vezina Trophy waiting to happen, who went to the University of Maine of all schools.
Greg Oden got picked ahead of Kevin Durant, one of the greatest players ever, and he only played like 80 games because his knees just gave out. Injuries take their toll on anybody.
Oh, it is true, but Matt, in this fight, yeah, I mean, you gotta be honest with yourself. There's some fighters where you get gassed up, you get excited when they fight. To me, Cody Garbrandt's one of those guys.
Really?
Garbrandt fought, I was jazzed to the nines to get ready for that fight. And for this one, the level of excitement's a little bit less just based on the way that Garbrandt performed in that fight. Now, he's walking out here looking like a cross between you and I, because I can see those ribs popping out right now, which is something that I've never seen out of Cody Garbrandt.
I'm 9 inches taller than him, Craig.
Well, and there's that one too. But height advantage is notwithstanding, it's going to be interesting to see how he performs, because we saw it in his fight against Font. even in those championship rounds, he was still pressing forward when he was struggling with the jab. Obviously, his wrestling kind of evaded him as that fight went on, which you thought, hey, that's the fallback plan, right? The wrestling. I don't even think we're going to see a sniff of the wrestling here, but if we do, I wonder how those muscle systems keep up with it.
It will be interesting. And for Garbrandt would be the more likely to go for the takedown. He's definitely the better wrestler in this matchup, but France is sort of sneaky with his own takedown attempts. He's not afraid of the ground for being a primary striker, and that's what makes his fighting style so fun. He's one of those guys who almost frustratingly will hurt his opponent, shoot a double leg takedown, try to ground and pound them, and then get into a war even when you think he's winning. Like, he will also kind of make those poor Cody Garbrandt-esque decisions, which means that we could get one of those crazy, like, hey, you want to both just wing overhand rights until one of us folds. So I think this is going to be a phenomenal fight. I really do.
And I mean, to go back to The Fighter's Mind by Sam Sheridan, the thing that I really liked about it in that chapter about Freddie Roach was the fact that there's two different fighters out there, and he makes a perfect example of it. The fact that you've got Freddie Roach, and then you've got Tony... Or Teddy Atlas, rather. Tony Atlas, you know, the wrestler. But when you look at it for Teddy Atlas, two guys that coach the same fighter, and you looked at the approach that they had, and it was so weird. Now, the one thing with Atlas, he'd look at it, and this is for Michael Moore. That's who it was. For Michael Moore.
He won the title from Evander Holyfield?
Atlas was the guy that said, okay, listen, you got to do it this way. You got to do it a certain way. You got to keep your mouth shut, so on and so forth. And he went with his Teddyisms. And then
Very Craig Popovich-esque.
And for Freddie Roach, it's more like Freddie's a little quiet, but he'll say things to you in the gym. He'll let you be your own person. He'll let you get loud out in the media.
Yourself.
But he makes those little adjustments in the fight. And for certain people, it works. For certain people, it doesn't. But maybe if Garbrandt had somebody like that in his ear, you never know. Maybe that would work for him. But
do you think he should go to like a Sanford MMA or an American Top? You know, I know that's so hard. Do you think he should move his family across the country?
Well, no, but he had trained
idea.
in New Jersey.
That's what I mean. He's not just tied to Team Alpha Male anymore. Remember how dumb
Mark
that
Henry
rivalry
was in his corner.
Exactly. Remember how dumb the rivalry was with TJ Dillashaw? He's like, you trained with someone else. And then
Dwayne Ludwig, we're bringing him into this.
Insert the SpongeBob thing like 2 years later. Cody Garbrandt training with another team. Like, since he is no longer tied to a certain gym, it would be nice to see him go just try out other places. Remember when Anthony Joshua, he lost to Usyk? Then there was all these pictures of him in boxing gyms in America because to Anthony Joshua's credit, he wanted to get better. So he thought, hey, let me go around. I'm going to try out these different gyms and I'll try to learn something new from these other people. It would be nice to see Garbrandt go on one of those type of runs. If he had like a Gardner Minshew type summer where he gets into the RV, just travels around America and tries different gyms, maybe it could work out for him.
The opposite and the counter to that is great if you're a Jays fan. It's like Daniel Norris. They were always nervous. He was their number one pitching prospect. He goes out there every summer, drives across country in his microbus, and then he ends up at training camp. They were worried for his health. They were worried for his safety.
Oh, no.
Then they trade him to the Tigers for David Price. Price looks great in the playoffs in 2015 for the Jays. Has an amazing season. And Daniel Norris hasn't really ever panned out. So it is interesting to look at things that way. Now, Matt, we have Cody Garbrandt taking on Kai Kara-France. For Dude, I'm sorry for dropping these North American references. I'm sure they're falling on deaf ears there with you and maybe with the others. But, Matt, what I do know is that Cody Garbrandt is a walking fight of the night waiting to happen.
He really is. And it's just wild whenever you have a title or a former champion who is no longer really like a ranked fighter anymore. Like, it's
he is ranked.
He is, but like it's weird for me to see Robbie Lawler fight nowadays when he doesn't have a number next to his name, and it's like, oh, you're just a guy now. Like with Garbrandt, he is still ranked, you're right, but he doesn't feel like he has that aura around him anymore. He doesn't feel like he is one fight away from a title shot. Although, yes, I agree with you, it more than likely is one fight away from a title shot. This being that fight, it's just, for me, I don't feel that sort of... To me, he's not no love anymore. He's just Cody Garbrandt.
Or he's all love.
Maybe.
I don't think so. Matt, Kai Kara-France looks mad.
Cynthia Calvillo sighting, by the way.
Cynthia Calvillo, she had a rough go in her last fight against Andrea Lee, who got the big pick-me-up win here, too. The Kelly Lee connection. Wow. Big wins. So, Matt, Kai Kara-France taking on Cody Garbrandt. What's one thing you're going to look for from both of these guys?
How defensively sound is Cody Garbrandt? Hey, and does Garbrandt wrestle? Because if he ever decides to use his wrestling, I'll throw that on. I won't say he should use his wrestling, but if he ever decides to use it, this would be the fight.
2020, 2021 MMA Awards Referee of the Year, Herb Dean in this one. Had a little bit of a poor stoppage on this card, but it is what it is, Matt. Garbrandt taking on Kai Kara-France. We get set for our first of 3 rounds at flyweight. between these two guys, and Voodoo having a good time. He gets it. I can't talk footy either, and honest to goodness, haven't paid enough attention to Tottenham lately. Matt Garbrandt opens up with a leg kick.
I'll never forget that one time he went to Thailand. It was like, hey, I'm going to throw kicks now.
Tim says, I'm rooting for you, Kai Kara-France, and France is able to get Garbrandt behind those black lines. Now, we know he's no one-hitter quitter, and behind that black line, he can knock out an older Brazilian bantamweight in Rafael Assunção.
And both these guys have good knockout power for the division. Again, I know we've been talking about this a lot more recently, how the flyweight division's no longer just a decision division. There's great finishers in this 125-pound weight class, and both these guys prove that.
Well, the funny thing to me, when I look at these two guys on the screen now that we actually have them, I mean, Garbrandt has the reach advantage, he has the height advantage. It doesn't really look like he has a giant advantage in this fight.
He does look like the bigger fighter, though. I will say that. He does seem to have the slightly bigger frame.
It'd be interesting to see how he uses it moving forward. Seems to really like that leg kick. And Rob G saying size difference looks huge.
I agree more with Rob than you, Craig. I'll be honest.
I don't know. I don't see it. But we move forward.
Upright.
We're a minute into this fight so far. Kai Kara-France not really using anything to establish the distance, but really just kind of chasing Garbrandt here.
Yeah, neither guy really thrown all that much yet. Both guys just sort of waiting to counter. But Kai Kara-France has been able to back Garbrandt up near the cage, which at least means that his footwork has been effective.
Kara-France throws a big-time right hand and whiffs in the air like an old-timey prop plane.
And for Kara-France, he is a combination puncher, so once he does get his range, you do expect him to start moving downhill with his shots.
Big time shot there from Garbrandt, who looks like he's trying to time the entry from Kara-France. And we really haven't seen much out of either of these guys 2 minutes into this fight.
And I'm curious to see how Garbrandt's power translates down at this division. When he does hit clean on Kara-France, will it hurt him?
Kara-France continuing, but again, he's not really stepping into the pocket. He's also not really doing a good job of kind of cutting the cage. He's more following his opponent here.
I mean, neither guy's really done that much yet, so it's hard to say either guy's being all that successful.
Couple of jab attempts there from Kara-France. Again, we're prop playing in it.
Good right hand by Garbrandt off the kick. Didn't really land clean, but you can tell he's trying to time those kicks.
Yeah, and it looks like Garbrandt is... Oh!
Big right hand. Garbrandt's hurt.
Garbrandt gets absolutely starched by
the
the
right
right hand!
Cody Garbrandt! Wow!
Garbrandt egging him on!
You don't love that.
Now he wrestles!
Oh.
Garbrandt with the takedown!
That
now,
was a nice takedown. He needed that, though, because he was hurt.
If Kara-France is up, that won't be scored as a takedown right there. But a good entry there from Garbrandt trying to switch things up.
It got his head out of trouble. That's all that matters.
He hits
right
another
hand.
one. Oh, he
good
lands
right
one of
hand
his
by
own.
Exactly. That was a good shot by Garbrandt. Kara-France still got to be smart, because Garbrandt's dangerous.
We got a fight here, but Garbrandt's been dropped twice. Eats a jab there. Herb Dean's in the pocket here with these boys.
So we got the answer. Is his chin good at 125? Maybe it's not great.
But they're still popping his shots, and for Kara-France, he's taking his time here, but... that's
big
it!
shots.
That's gotta be it!
On his
Herb
feet.
Dean!
He's down!
Oh my
Kai
gosh!
Kara-France with a knockout win in the first round.
Kai Kara-France, your winner!
Wow.
Wow! And
Good
for
pick,
Herb,
Greg.
another one where we're in close, and then we wait, and then we stop it. I don't necessarily know if I love it there, but for Kai Kara-France,
stoppage.
what a win! The Anzac region is on
Nice.
fuego!
You can't fix a glass jaw.
Man, and that is sad. I mean, you
It
go
is
back
like-
3 or 4 years, like...
He's like Brad Pitt and Troy. He has one weakness. It's the Achilles. It's just the chin. Like, Garbrandt's a good wrestler. He's not a great defensive fighter, but he's so good offensively that you do think that there's a special talent there, but unfortunately, when durability is your issue, there's nothing that you can do to cure that, and losing an extra 10 pounds definitely didn't hurt that. Like, the first clean shot that Kai Kara-France landed on Garbrandt hurt him, and then just... he poured it on from that point. And the thing about Garbrandt is, so Michael Bisping, for instance, like, his chin might not be the greatest ever, but he had really good recovery after he got hurt. Garbrandt's never been a guy who's been able to get hurt and then recover all that well from it. If you do hurt him, normally if you put a flurry on him, you can get him out.
Big
That was
time
wild,
win
though.
for Kai Kara-France. And I mean, listen, Sean McMahon, Javier Gomez, Tim, Dimitar, Rob G, Rob Lawrence, Tovon. Listen, Tovon, don't take that from Robin Black. Just let him keep it. Robin Black, you know what? That's a Canadian we got to get on the show. We got to get Robin.
He doesn't do predictions, Craig.
No, that's true, but I mean, listen, big time win for Kai Kara-France. For me, yeah, I mean, Alessandro Pantoja's sitting somewhere watching. That's the fight that I want to see.
Yeah, that'd be a great matchup. That'd be a phenomenal fight.
Kai Kara France by first round TKO.
Wow.
Wow. Dan Hooker in the corner, future and former featherweight. And for Cody Garbrandt, again, as the UFC has, the thrill and agony. I mean, that's difficult right there.
Cody Garbrandt, how the mighty have fallen. Yeah, he looks way bigger, Craig. I don't know how you thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you look at him side by side, KKF is very, very thick.
That was
thick, man.
He's got big power, though. That's what we said. Don't be surprised if he wins by knockout. Luckily, it happened.
Man, what a win for Kai Kara France.
That was the only fight I had money on, too, so thank goodness.
What a win for New Zealand in that one.
So what the heck does Cody Garbrandt do next?
I think you go back up to 135.
And do what?
Fight
Lose
TJ
to Sean
Dillashaw
O'Malley?
third time.
No. Dillashaw just beat Corey Sandhagen.
Dollar Dillashaw?
Craig.
I don't know. I mean, again, Munoz, Moraes, did they make that fight? That makes sense.
Do they both knock each other out at the same time?
I don't know. I mean, listen, Twin Cities saying BKFC, here we come.
Oh, I don't want to see
Maybe he fights David Rickles at a catchweight of 165.
That's when you know your career's gotten a little sad.
Maybe he fights his teammate, Chad Mendes.
Chad Money Mendes.
I don't know.
Mendes would knock him out BKFC easy.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. Morg saying, easy money, City Kickboxing bringing the goods. And, yeah, I mean, what a giant win there. Dimitar saying Cody at 145. He's way undersized.
He's not Paulo Bonchero. He doesn't play every position.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. But
Showed him to Duke.
For Kai Kara France, I mean, a great opportunity there. Now he gets that big name. I mean,
but this is the thing. Does it feel like that big of a win for him? Like, you knocked him out with the first punch you landed, then you just kept on hitting him, and he went down pretty quick. Like, did that look like the best version of Cody Garbrandt you've ever seen?
I don't know.
So that's what I mean. Like, it is unfortunate.
It looked like the best Kai Kara France I've ever seen.
And that's the thing. It doesn't take anything away from Kai Kara France, but it doesn't add very much to him, I don't think.
No, I mean, we got to focus on this. Kai Kara France got hit with what? A couple of leg kicks? And I mean, he ate a couple of jabs, if that.
Like, rice is good, but you're never like, ooh, this rice is great. Like, Kai Kara France...
I like it with saffron in it. A little bit of oil.
Sometimes, yeah, but saffron's really expensive, Craig, so you don't put it in everything. Here's the thing. Kai Kara France is like the rice. You're like, hey, he's good, but I worry about him at the next level.
I mean, if rice makes fight of the nights, then give me some rice.
I guess. Yeah, every now and then it can. You put it in sushi, it gets to the fight of the night level.
It's a tough one. Voodoo's saying, yeah, his stock doesn't raise much with this knockout. Hot Dog saying Cody should have added weight. Yeah, that's it. Like, it just really is tough to really try and bring it all together. You got a Hickman brother in the corner, so that's cool. And a guy that looks like he could be the New Zealand Adolfo Vieira.
He does.
Queen Radiant, great respect shown by Kai.
Was.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, a giant win there. Now, Matt, we look at our next fight. We have Jeff Neal. He's the Hands of Steel. Saif Saud's only fighter on this card, taking on the Argentine Dagger. It used to be the Spartan, but now he's the Argentine Dagger. Mackenzie Dern with the fam. And for Mackenzie Dern, her last fight, not so great. Misha Tate, for her last fight, wasn't that great. Will we get another fighter who had a great fight?
They showed Derek. Oh,
Halle Berry and a guy I don't know.
yeah, I don't know who that is.
Is that Thierry
He's a
Henry?
lucky man, I'll tell you that much. This is the thing about the next fight. I'm really, really excited for Ponzinibbio versus Jeff Neal, but I have a lot of question marks about Ponzinibbio and just his overall durability, especially at this stage of his career. He's had a lot of injuries, and the weird thing is, you can't say, oh, he needed to get hit once in the head to come back, but like, you feel like he almost had to get that one bad performance out of the way before he could sort of come back to his full potential. And I feel like in the Baeza fight, he showed at least 80% of the Ponzinibbio we saw against Neil Magny, and I think 80% of prime Ponzinibbio will be enough to beat Jeff Neal.
So if we look at Jeff Neal fight over fight in his last number of fights, he fights Neil Magny, 0% of his strikes are to Magny's legs. When he fights Wonder Boy, 7% of his strikes are to the legs. When we look at some of the wins, the Mike Perry fight, obviously he finished
That was over in 3 seconds.
13% to the legs. We look at the fight against Bilal Muhammad that he wins by decision. 2% to the legs. Good wrestler. Maybe you worry about it. Frank Camacho in that fight knocks him down twice. 0% to the legs. I would be interested to see if Jeff Neal does employ some kicks in this fight against Santiago.
I think he's going to throw a lot of kicks.
He can be heavy on his lead leg, but he does throw a lot of kicks.
This is going to come down to who's better defensively checking the leg kick. Because if Ponzinibbio can start chopping away at the mobility of Jeff Neal, then he's going to knock him out probably in like the first or second round, because that's the kind of power Ponzinibbio has. But if Neal can stay dynamic with his movement, get in, get out, kind of similar to what Wonderboy did to him, because that's the wild thing about Jeff Neal. Before the Wonderboy fight, and even early on in the Wonderboy fight before he got hurt, he was good at getting in and out of the pocket. He just became so hesitant after that you do worry about him moving forward. And against not against Jeff Neal, he is Jeff Neal. I'm not Mike Goldberg. Against Neil Magny, sorry. He was so tentative. He just waited on Magny that if he fights it in a similar manner tonight, I expect Ponzinibbio to run away with this fight.
Chris is saying light sprinkle on Neal by knockout. Dylan R is saying I have Neal and I'm terrified. It's a good fight. That's it for me, Matt. Like, there's fights on this card. Honest to goodness, yeah, it looks bad if you get it wrong. But regardless of what happens, I couldn't be more amped for this one. This is going to be a good fight. This is a perfect fight night main event, but we just so happen to get it here on the main card. I think it's going to be an awesome one.
Yeah, so do I. As they try to hype us up with Cyril Gane versus Francis Ngannou, that's going to be a great title fight for the
heavyweight title. Who's up for that one? This guy.
Oh,
I mean, holy smokes. I mean, give me a French flag. I will wear it. But I am very excited for that fight. But with our next one, Matt, we look at the finish rates for these guys. Jeff Neal, you talk about knockout power, but perfect reservedness when he's winning, and that's something that you love to see, but it got him in some trouble against Neil Magny, and he just wasn't able to close the distance and figure it out, because Magny just kept pumping that jab out there, moving around, and that was really the way to beat Jeff Neal. When he fought Wonderboy Thompson, I mean, he was all sorts of confused. Now, you can attribute that to the opponent. You can attribute that to the way back, the road to recovery. You could say the same thing for Ponzinibbio, too, in his fight against Li Jingliang. But both of these guys, I expect to be at or somewhere near 100%, you would think. I think this has the potential to be a great fight.
I do, too. Again, I worry a little bit about Jeff Neal and some things that have come out in recent light. That's all I'll say. But hopefully we do get both these guys near 100%, because if we do get the best version of Jeff Neal and the best version of Santiago Ponzinibbio, this could very well be fight of the night. That's just how good this fight could be. But we've had, 2 first-round stoppages back-to-back. Like, it's been a quick pay-per-view so far. We are flying through this main card.
You know there's going to be some fillers, so if you want to hit up the comments section, ask questions, that's what we're here. I mean, for the Fight Companion, we do our best to get over there. Diamond Hands is saying Ponzinibbio is the lock of the night. Well, I don't like saying that here, Matt, but I definitely wouldn't say it's a lock. I was hesitant.
You said it 3 times, though. So, like Beetlejuice, Jeff Neal's going to win. Good job, Craig.
There we go.
You
Matt,
the
should be a good one. Phoenix saying I'm still green from last week. I went 11-2. You
Nice.
had a good week. Pretty sure we had a good week, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah. I mean, listen, if we get the next 3 right, it's a heck of a night, right?
Yeah, it definitely is.
So it's that way.
We've had a good main card so far.
Yeah. Fearless Red 25 saying, sorry, may you guys wait. But let's get into this.
Was Kai an underdog?
Who?
Was Kai Kara France an underdog?
Let's have a look and see what the odds were for that one. And we'll have a look at the odds for this one,
$20
too.
on it.
But, yeah, if we look at the odds, Kai Kara France was actually an underdog in that fight.
Good job, Craig.
Weird. In this fight, Matt, pick 'em odds for Jeff Neal and Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Oh, isn't it wild that this main card was supposed to have Masvidal versus Leon Edwards? Like, that's how good this pay-per-view was supposed to be.
It's still pretty good. And listen, before the videos, and you guys know this, and we know this too, I mean, you got to hype yourself up. You got to get excited, and especially on some of those fight night cards with some of the prelims that you get, it can be difficult. I have this thing to say, though. I was looking forward to Perez and Schnell because those guys were going to throw down and make for an interesting fight at 125. So, listen, yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't actually get that fight. But, yeah, I mean, now we're right here. Everybody's saying it's an underdog, or Kai Kara France was an underdog. But you haven't asked any questions. Throw some questions out there. I know there's going to be filler because you just had those 2 first-round finishes. So, yeah, I mean, we can go around the room. We can get some of those questions in. Check out our second channel, 15-minute card breaks.
You should.
I opened an Israel Adesanya autograph card. That was pretty cool over on TikTok. Queen Radiant saying, excellent fights tonight. They definitely have been so far. We're getting set for 2 of the best welterweights in the world. Neal ranked ahead of Ponzinibbio. Li Jingliang in the middle of them. Li had a bad night out at the office against Khamzat Chimaev, but so is everybody else.
Exactly. No one's done well again.
And Jack Hermanson in the wrestling, too.
That was weird, though. That was like, he did the 1 takedown, and then they didn't do very much.
It was still kind of crazy. Voodoo's saying, yeah, this card has been great so far. And F. Smith, a 99, Oliver Nunes, and Lomachenko. Matt, I haven't been tuning in too much of the, the boxing. I mean, I catch the Canelo fights, I catch the big heavyweight fights, I catch this here and there.
I watched Terrence Crawford retire Sean Porter.
Yeah, there was that fight. Obviously, you had
Lit him up on the
Lopez
inside.
with the crazy lung issues that came out after the fact in his last fight. And, he had a rough night at the office there. And Voodoo saying made even better by the FNP boys. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Fearless Reds going light. The Steelers did not come through. For me, I'm just having a disappointing year. It's back to the usual for a Browns fan right now in the NFL.
It's been a roller coaster with the Dolphins. I'll be honest. It was like as rock bottom could possibly be. They were going to trade for a guy who's not even allowed to play in the league right now, so I'll just leave it at that. But Tua's like good all of a sudden.
I have to
that's
say
cool.
this for Dylan R. For Tai Tuivasa, I was impressed. I was more impressed that this is a guy that, since his last fight, stayed in Dubai, couldn't get a great strength of training partner, goes out there and fights a fight like that against Augusto Sakai, where he did have, a lot of success in those clinch exchanges, where I would have thought as soon as Sakai goes in, gets the plum, he's going to have a lot of success on his own. So Tuivasa looked great.
I just really feel like we've seen the evolution of Tuivasa, and he's not just like a kind of a wild fighter anymore. Like there is a little bit more technique behind there, and it's kind of wild to think this guy main evented a UFC show, got cut, and now he's back to the organization. So I do think he's made the improvements.
Michigonian, I'm not going to answer that one. I don't have a lot to say about it. So we'll just have to see what happens in this performance for Jeff Neal. I mean, he's got a big time test against Ponzinibbio, and this is one of those fights, Matt, that just feels like it was made correctly. Like it's not a giant mismatch. Again, the lines or the odds are at par, so it does make sense there. But I think this is going to be a big one. Queen Radiant does not like football. What about hockey? What about baseball?
Basketball.
What about basketball, Queen Radiant? Hit us up. Let us know. Daniel, will we do picks for all the sports? No. I don't have that much
There's
time.
a lot of sports.
Yeah, and I don't have that much time. I'm sorry. MMA is where it's at. And then if you like to see us open cards and talk about them, we do that too. That's where we get to talk about the other stuff. Just my 2 cents. Hard to see Kayla not ending up in Bellator at this point.
She met with UFC officials yesterday or the day before.
And Dana White seemed to kind of tip his hand like, yeah, this is the way it's going. It seemed to me anyway.
Yeah, they wine and dined her, so we'll see what happens. No one knows. But here's the thing. I feel like last basketball reference of the next 5 minutes. If Kayla Harrison goes to Bellator, it'll be like Kevin Durant joining the Golden State Warriors. It's the right career decision, but selfishly, I want her to come to the UFC because just the Nunes fight, because Bellator has more female featherweight fighters, they have a better division, and they have a better top 5 because they have 5 fighters in their division. But everybody wants to see the Nunes versus Harrison fight, and you know that if the UFC is going to lock down Harrison, they're not going to let her just do the one and done matchup, and that's the issue with that.
It would be like Rocket Ismail is your number 1 draft choice in the NFL, and then instead of going to the NFL, he goes to a team that's partially owned by John Candy and Wayne Gretzky and the Toronto Argonauts. So it would be very strange to see Harrison do that, not end up with the UFC, but I'd love it either way. I mean, Kayla Harrison is must-see TV because look at what she's been able to do in the cage.
She's very good.
She is very good. Ponzinibbio in the cage, Matt. We get up for fights between these two guys.
Do you know anyone from Argentina? I don't.
Not a single person. You don't find too many of them in New Brunswick, Canada.
No.
No.
I'm just trying to think. I don't know many people from South America. I know like 2.
Neither do I. Couldn't guess.
Really?
Matt, Jeff Neal making the walk in the red corner. Again, Saif Saud, we talk about big-time gyms. Obviously, you assume he's going to be countering Deron Williams when he takes on Frank Gore, a fight that just has to happen. But
okay, people don't believe me when I say Deron Williams is way bigger than Frank Gore, but he is. It's not even close. Frank Gore's like 5'9". Deron Williams is 6'3", without shoes.
It's going to be a weird one. But Matt, for Jeff Neal, again, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. And for Cody Garbrandt, it's a losing streak. But for Cody Garbrandt, it's different. For Jeff Neal, he took on striking technicians his last 2 times out. And that might sound... that might sound crazy when I talk about Neil Magny that way. Because for Neal, it's the wrestling, it's the unorthodoxness.
So he's well-rounded.
Remember, yeah, he's well-rounded, but he can strike from the outside. And that's exactly what he did in that fight. And if you look at it for Jeff Neal, I wonder if he comes into this fight just looking to tear Santiago Ponzinibbio's head off and try and get back in the win column.
I think that's a bad idea if he does it, because with Jeff Neal, I think his technique is cleaner. If he does stay more disciplined to his game plan, he should be able to win this one. If he can just go out there, stick to the jab, check some leg kicks, and try to land a left straight, it's a pretty good game plan to win this one. It's just, with Ponzinibbio, he's such a dynamic boxer. Again, when we were in Halifax watching Derek Lewis fight Travis Brown, other than when Derek Lewis knocked out Travis Brown, because that was disgusting, it really was, the loudest shot of the night was Ponzinibbio dropping Nordine Taleb. People don't remember that fight. But Ponzinibbio does have really big power himself, and I do think his left hook is going to be a big point in this fight. He likes to follow up his straight right with that left hook, and I do see that catching Jeff Neal at some point.
It's going to be a neat one. Wiser1973, appreciate you for tuning into the Fight Night Picks companion here. And, yeah, it's going to be a great one. I mean, Ponzinibbio, older, taller, less in terms of reach. He weighed in half a pound under the 170 limit, or I guess I should say 171, so it's 1.5 pounds. But regardless, Ponzinibbio, the lighter man. I'll be interested to see how these two guys square off and look, especially in the cage against each other. But, again, this is such an interesting fight because when Neal is on, what can he do that Ponzinibbio is going to have a hard time counteracting?
His counter-striking is really good, so if Ponzinibbio does leave his chin moving out forward before his hands, he could walk into a big counter shot, because with Ponzinibbio, he has a good chin, but he gets hit, and anybody who is hittable is susceptible to getting knocked out. Like, he has a very good chin, but he has 3 losses by TKO, and that kind of tells you what you need to know. He's going to be able to eat a big shot. I'm not worried about him just getting hit once and falling, but since he can get hit clean, it's just something that can happen in MMA. And against Jeff Neal, who is a big puncher, and like we talked about, he's such a reserved finisher too, that if he does hurt Ponzinibbio, I expect a finish to come shortly after. But with Ponzinibbio, again, I like the progression of his game. It's break down the legs, go to the body, then finish you up top. And if he does look like the guy who fought Jeff Neal, or the guy who at least fought in the later rounds of the Miguel Baeza fight, I think he should have his way with Neal.
Jeff Neal getting the introduction, getting you set for the third fight on this main card after this. It's a 2-time title fights. You let us know over in the comments section who you've got in this fight. Nordine Taleb does not get brought up enough.
He doesn't.
Jack
you want to talk
Marshman.
about a crafty French striker.
Jack Marshman, Thiago Santos, another great fight on that card. Elias Theodoru on that card. Matt, we'll get the timer set for our first round between Ponzinibbio and Neal. Toss a like if you haven't already. Tell a friend as I shake the table. And here we go. We have Neal and Santiago Ponzinibbio.
I'm very excited for this one.
Jeff Neal coming out of southpaw, Ponzinibbio and orthodox. Neal switching stances a little bit. And this is going to be an interesting one. Which man will enter first? Because Jeff Neal looks a lot bigger in that cage.
He does. He stands very upright, though. And Ponzinibbio does have a very wide base. But, oh, I'm so excited. This could be a great fight.
It's going to be a really, really difficult one. Both guys trying to figure this one out. And like you said, I mean, for Ponzinibbio, light on his feet, moving around here. The Argentinian dagger, I should say the Argentine dagger. For Jeff Neal, hands of steel that have been just evading him his last 2 times out.
Yeah, he's not John Lineker. Like, Hands of Stone, I feel like, is definitely a step ahead of Hands of Steel at this point.
Wise Ape saying, what was your prediction for the champ Nunes versus Pena? Nunes over Pena.
Yeah, Nunes over Pena. We'll leave it at that.
All right, Matt. Santiago Ponzinibbio. A couple of leg kicks there early between the two of these guys. But, Matt, we're about a minute into our first round. Both guys with the feeling out process. We had that in our last fight between Kara France and Garbrandt, and it ended once they started throwing.
It definitely did. And this will be interesting, too, because Ponzinibbio fights with a good pace, but he is more of a counter striker. He will wait on the back foot a little bit and engage once you do, so it will be interesting to see who decides to lead the dance in this fight.
A head kick attempt there from Jeff Neal. Not something you see every day.
Came close. He's fast.
Mark Smith telling him to close the fist, but not pausing the action. And here we go.
Just making sure we're all following the rules.
Referee Mark Smith. You can get away with a couple fouls in Mark Smith fight.
Good right hand by Ponzinibbio, but Neal seemed to eat it well.
Jeff Neal coming out here with a couple of leg kicks, too, on his own.
And you like to see it, too. If you can break down the base of Ponzinibbio, it's the same thing. You break down some of that footwork.
And I love to see, again, you talk footwork, Jeff Neal's got it, and then some so far tonight in this first round. Just a couple minutes in, but I like what I'm seeing here.
Floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee.
Oh, it is great to see Jeff Neal throwing that to the body. You like to see a cross there at a southpaw.
Yeah, nice. Everything's very tight.
Ponzinibbio fooled him with a kick to the knee where Jeff Neal went to cover the body and ate it. And he goes for a head kick, Jeff Neal.
And Jeff Neal immediately fools Ponzinibbio and head kicks him. So, very high-level fight.
Big-time job there from Jeff Neal. He's looking good so far.
He definitely is. I was going to say, this is the most like Jeff Neal he's looked in a very long time.
Good job there. Mark Smith doing what Mark Smith does.
I don't know.
Halfway through our first round.
Ooh, good left straight by Neal.
Jeff Neal really throwing them.
Yeah, when he's moving forward on Ponzinibbio, he's been able to land.
Another nice kick to the knee there from Ponzinibbio. That's one of those ones that's just going to continue to impact as the fight goes on here.
Santiago's coming close with that right hand. Ooh. You know if he lands one overhand right, it can change this fight quick.
Ponzinibbio going Pettis City with that spinning back fist. Does not land.
And he dropped Mike Perry with that in the third round of their fight in Winnipeg. So that is something in his toolbox for sure.
About 2 minutes remaining. Really close round here in the first.
Definitely has been. Neal's definitely laid at the cleaner shots, though.
2 minutes remaining. Ponzinibbio looking to establish himself here. He's doing a pretty good job at the guard high from Neal.
Yeah, Neal's doing a good job blocking up top.
Establishing his own shots here as he presses forward, and both guys land in that exchange.
Neal does a really good job at slapping the hands down of Ponzinibbio before he decides to throw. It's a really good job of not only distracting Ponzinibbio, but just creating an opening for you to land.
Jeff Neal really starting to land here. Nice, really nice right hook there on that lead hook.
Yeah, Ponzinibbio was moving like that guy from the Detroit survival videos where he's just like circling on the outside, moving everybody.
Head kick attempt there from Ponzinibbio. Tries to land a right of his own.
Both guys have thrown some fight enders.
These guys are going at it. Minute 15 remaining here in our first round. Really close one so far.
Ponzinibbio's come close with a lot of those big right hands, but nothing's been able to land clean yet.
Jeff Neal with a head kick attempt. Does not land. It's blocked by Ponzinibbio. And Ponzinibbio's had pretty good defense for the kicks of Neal so far.
He definitely has so far. That's a good point. But you got to watch out, because one of those head kicks, if he's able to set it up right, could end the fight.
Jeff Neal, again... This is a tale of two stories here because you have the footwork of Jeff Neal,
good
Ponzinibbio with the left hook.
That's something you got to watch out for from Ponzinibbio. He really likes to follow his combinations up with the left hook.
Ponzinibbio trying to cut the cage, but that's so hard to do against Jeff Neal, who lands a head kick of his own that's somewhat blocked.
And Jeff Neal's so accurate, too. He's not somebody who throws a lot of shots and misses them. When he throws, there's always a target in mind.
The question there from Phoenix is Ponzinibbio's eye busted up.
Mark
Smith, man, now we finally call stoppage to the round. And now we start it back. Oh, my gosh, Mark, come on.
I'm so confused.
That's ridiculous. Mark Smith calls timeout as Ponzinibbio walks away, starts the fight again, and then calls time again. That's absolutely terrible.
Mark Smith, what a guy.
Oh,
we hit him in the cut bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's an illegal shot. Now, again, first one's always free, so you're not going to have a point deducted in an exchange like that. Both guys have had their own fouls so far in this one, but yeah, that is a tricky one where the fighter turns his back. I mean, you can never turn your back in a fight.
I don't know why you're so mad, though. He got fouled, and he's getting the time that he should. I don't know why we're so outraged. Yeah, it wasn't handled in the best situation, but the right thing happened.
Definitely not a fan of that one. And Dylan R saying Smith said fight. That's my trouble with this one. Smith getting ready to start it. Ponzinibbio's still not ready.
There we go.
Time in. Here we go. 20 seconds remaining. So we're a little bit behind. 18 seconds remaining in the round. Ponzinibbio's giving it all he's got here.
Yeah, really coming out like a man possessed for these last 15.
All right, 10 seconds remaining. Ponzinibbio with a head kick.
Oh,
he lands a nice left.
That's something you got to watch out for. Again, that's one of Ponzinibbio's best techniques.
5 seconds remaining. We have the end of the round.
Ooh. Good right left by Ponzinibbio there to end the round, but both guys landed clean. Goodness.
That's going to be, dead even in the strikes. Neal cut Ponzinibbio. That's a really, really hard round to try and decide. I mean, Matt, I know you kind of seem one way. Maybe we're not in agreement. Let's hear it. Like, how do you score that round?
Oh, 10-9 Jeff Neal. I thought he landed the cleaner shots. Now, Ponzinibbio landed the couple bigger ones. Like, his left hook was probably the biggest shot of the round, but I felt like the in-betweens were more dominated by Jeff Neal.
That's it. I mean, damage versus the volume. For me, I've got it for Ponzinibbio, and I say, volume. You look at it, 17 of 37.
If the volume's the same and one guy damages the other guy more, I think the judges are going to give it to the guy who damaged the other guy more.
I like Ponzinibbio in that one. So we're split on it. Let us know over in the comments section, who did you score that first round for? It was definitely very close regardless.
It was, and Ponzinibbio started to build later in that round, so he's in great shape starting the second one. It's just, it's a little tough. I thought Neil won the first, but it's a close one.
It is a very close one. We'll get set for our second round. We covered a couple of glitches and pauses. Now, we were lucky because, listen, it was during the cup shot, so we'll see what happens here. If we have to restart it, things could get a little bit tricky. But Matt, we're getting set for our second round. Rob G saying Ponzinibbio 1-0, but yeah, a very, very close round between those two guys. We get set for our second round, and Ponzinibbio looking to push ahead, and Voodoo saying Jeff Neal hardly even breathing.
I hope he's
Wise8 Ponzinibbio 1-0. Jeff Neal, high and upright, really nice high guard. Ponzinibbio leading the dance with a couple of good shots early.
Ponzinibbio just looked so much more comfortable starting the second round. You could tell he was starting to find his range near the end of the first.
Big kick to the inside knee there from Ponzinibbio, lands another
one. Yeah, no, he's really starting to open it up with his game.
E Fireman 23 asking who won the first round. It was razor thin close. We had to throw it out and ask everybody there. Walker Scott saying Neal looked more crisp. 30 seconds into the first round, it's been Ponzinibbio so far.
As someone who predicted Ponzinibbio, I hope you guys are right.
Woke Kyle saying I'd give it to Neal, but a really close one. Another nice leg kick there from Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, no, he's come out and started really strong this second round.
A nice leg kick from Jeff Neal, though. That's one that might go unnoticed, and a nice right hand there from him as well.
Yeah, definitely. He's not out of this fight. Like you said, this is as close of a fight as there is on the card.
Definitely is. Ooh, nice right hand there. Lands for Ponzinibbio. Another high kick misses for Jeff Neal. And he's doing good work so far.
That was a good job by Ponzinibbio, though. Landing the right hand, ducking the shot of Neal, and getting out unscathed.
Jeff Neal fighting a good fight, especially compared to his last two. This looks like more of a return to normal. And he really credited that to a better training regimen, a lot of supplements as well. That's something that I'm sure anybody can really realize. I mean, once you get on a good path with the supplements, you can definitely regain your energy systems. And for a guy like that, it's worked out quite well for him.
I think he probably just listened to Return of the Mac a lot in this training camp, being like, I'm getting
That's
back
what
to
you
the
or I
old
would
me.
have done.
Exactly. That's all you need.
All right, Ponzinibbio doing pretty good work in this round, though. That has to be said.
He is. Both guys have been able to land clean.
Ponzinibbio really looking to push forward here. And I mean, you talk in terms of accuracy in the first round, it was more so Jeff Neal and Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio on a takedown attempt. Now he's in on the single leg.
Wow. Oh, so we're a wrestler now. Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Training with Mateusz Gamrot. That'll do it for you.
Exactly.
Ponzinibbio on the single, on the double.
I mean, over there at American Top Team, they're good at quite a bit.
Not something you're going to see every day. Ponzinibbio.
Wow.
Will he be able to pin him? Does he get the takedown?
I have no idea what it's considered a takedown anymore, or what is it?
Jeff Neal in top position. Ponzinibbio still on the takedown attempt, and now we're back up standing. But for Ponzinibbio, an interesting look in a fight where he was winning in the stand-up in the second round. Eats some left hands for his troubles.
It's been a very close fight. Both guys, it feels like, are one shot away from winning.
Halfway through our second round here, we've had one heck of a fight so far.
We definitely have. Ponzinibbio's starting to get a little wild with the striking, though.
And his hands are starting to dip lower here now in our second round. Another nice leg kick there from Ponzinibbio. But the trouble is, once those hands drop, there's prime opportunity for Neal to start to unload.
There is. With Ponzinibbio, it's wild. He becomes a lot more wild as the fight moves on, which means his chance to score a knockout does rise, but he's much more likely to get knocked out.
Ponzinibbio really starting to throw here. 2 minutes remaining. Jeff Neal lands another one of those right hands. They're doing a good job.
They definitely are.
Ponzinibbio pumping the jab out there. He's the man with less reach in this fight, which is a little bit of a surprise that he's been able to establish his own jab.
It definitely has, but Jeff Neal doing a good job countering when Ponzinibbio does overextend on his shots.
Minute 39 remaining. Another nice leg kick there from Ponzinibbio. The inside of that lead knee has chewed up for Jeff Neal. It's slowing down his movement, too.
It definitely is. Neal's just starting to plot forward now, not really using the dynamic movement we saw earlier.
That left hand is finding a home, though, when Jeff Neal gets in on his entries. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see another takedown attempt from Ponzinibbio. He's slowed considerably since then.
I think both guys have. I definitely noticed it more with Ponzinibbio first, but it does feel like Jeff Neal's starting to slow down too.
That's the thing. Phoenix saying Ponzi looking weathered. But again, the trouble is, he does when he backs away and resets, but then when he lands his combinations, he still has speed behind them.
Exactly, and he has been able to land on Jeff Neal so far.
Ooh, fakes the takedown attempt there, does Ponzinibbio. Referee Mark Smith watches on. Another jab there from Ponzinibbio.
Very close fight so far. 2 hard rounds to score.
49 seconds remaining. Do we have an eye poke? Ponzinibbio.
Ponzinibbio's just mad all the time.
We're going to run it out. Now he's calling his own eye pokes. And Mark Smith wants him to fight. And Ponzinibbio's fired up.
He is. Maybe he's been poked in the eye. Maybe he hasn't.
It's really, really tough to tell. 30 seconds remaining in our second round between these two welterweights. And, man, we have had a good fight so far. It's been a heck of a night of fights.
A lot of damage from that eye of Ponzinibbio, though.
That much is true, Matt. Jeff Neal's starting to land a couple here. Both guys exchanging in these flurries.
There was a good jab landed in there by Ponzinibbio with the head back at Jeff Neal.
This is another one. It's going to give the judges something to think about. It's a tough round to score.
Very. Yeah, I have no idea who's winning this one.
Matt, we've got a glitch in the matrix on our side, so I'll pop the logo up there. But
Ponzinibbio might have got hurt by that check right.
Ooh, nice leg kick there.
Not sure if that was a slip or a knockdown, but...
Looked like a little bit of a slip to me. I mean, to me, I've got Ponzinibbio up 2-1, but that's... 2 rounds to none, but...
I think Jeff Neal's up 2-0.
That's a tough fight to score, Matt. I mean, you get the total numbers. Ponzinibbio pulled ahead in terms of the total strikes in that one, or significant strikes rather. But yeah, I mean, these two guys definitely putting on an impressive display. And for Ponzinibbio, looked like he was slowing down when his hands started to go down, but at the same time, it's difficult. Diamond Hands is saying that Ponzinibbio's down by 2 rounds. Second round went to Neal. Rob G's got it tied.
I have no idea who's winning this.
Yeah, this is this. If all of us... if both of us and everybody out there are having a hard time scoring this one, it's going to be really, really tough. Dylan R says it's even. Here we go, our third and final round between these two guys. We have had one heck of a close fight between Jeff Neal and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Yeah. The odds, I mean, they were par at the start. Ponzinibbio minus 130. That's how close this fight is.
That tells you all you need to know.
Those live odds, they don't know who's up.
Listen, again, I hope Ponzinibbio wins for the prediction, but I do think Neal's up 2-0.
Jeff Neal, Ponzinibbio having a great fight. Ooh, a nice
right,
one
left.
too.
Yeah, that was a really nice combo.
Jeff Neal comes back strong.
Yeah, he did a really good job responding on that.
E. Fireman 23, you're definitely right. Here comes the war of a third round. These two guys know that it's a tight fight, and somebody's got to pull ahead here.
Oh, yeah. It very well could be whoever wins this third round wins the whole fight.
Both guys starting to throw a little bit of leather here. Really nice right hand lands for Jeff Neal. I've been talking about his left the whole fight, but Jeff Neal really pouring on the pressure here.
Jeff Neal just does such a good job of, he knows what he's good at and he knows what he's not good at. He doesn't try to land all that many flashy strikes. It's just very traditional combos. He sets everything up. Just a really good striker.
Really, really tricky one. And I mean, for Walker Scott talking about Ponzinibbio's leg kicks, but it's Jeff Neal doing the work up top here to start this round. We're more than a minute into our third round. Another nice leg kick there from Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, he's been able to land a lot of really solid ones. But again, you're probably not going to knock out Jeff Neal with an inside leg kick in the third round. So you'd like to see him at least use that to set something else up.
Santiago Ponzinibbio, no Chris Gutierrez here tonight.
Exactly. Few people are, though.
That much is true.
Great fight so far, though.
Both guys going at it. Minute 30 into our third round. Couple of nice jabs there from Ponzinibbio. But again, it's been the flurries of Jeff Neal in and out where he's really been able to do a lot of damage.
Exactly, and when he's becoming stationary, just sort of becomes fat and happy almost with his own combinations, that's when Ponzinibbio is able to land.
Couple of winging shots to Jeff Neal's left hand there, and you get another jab from Ponzinibbio. Looks like redness on the left side of the face of Jeff Neal.
Yeah, that left hook's starting to add up on Neal's face.
Ponzinibbio is starting to land a couple of good shots of his own. The trouble that I have in trying to score this fight, Matt, we can say it, everybody in the comment section's in agreement. Here's the thing. When Ponzinibbio lands on Neal, way less of a reaction than when Neal lands on Ponzinibbio.
Exactly. Again, this fight is impossible to judge. Like, if anyone tells you, oh, it's 2 rounds 0 or 1 round 1, and if anyone's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you scored this fight a different way than them, then they don't know what they're talking about.
Rob G, we got to issue a challenge out there for that hot sauce, because I know you and a few others really want to see it. Halfway through our third round. Ooh, nice left hand stings there from Ponzinibbio, but he eats a left for his troubles.
Jeff Neal's always doing a good job. He'll get hit, then he responds right away.
They talk about it. Again, you want the Teddy Atlasisms. It's the taking pictures effect. And Ponzinibbio lands his shot, stays in there for too long, and then eats that left hook.
Yeah, same thing with Jeff Neal. Like, when he gets fat and happy, just sort of laying his combination, that's when he gets hit too.
2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in this third round. Both guys having success so far.
Both guys have landed some bombs. I'm surprised we haven't got a knockdown yet.
Ponzinibbio almost landed 1-2 to every one from Neal, but this is tough.
Ponzinibbio's starting to pick it up, though, especially this last minute. Oh, that one might have hurt. No, he's good. Ponzinibbio just has such a weird way of moving on the feet that you never know if he's hurt or just kind of moving out of the pocket. Yeah, that was really a good leg kick, though. Really, really tough one for both these guys to try and score. Oh, 100%. That leg kick did hurt Jeff Neal. I know I said a leg kick isn't going to win it for Ponzinibbio in the third, but it may have.
Minute 30 seconds remaining. These guys are throwing. Oh,
Wild fight so far.
we're landing in the pocket. Oh,
I don't really know who either guy gets matched up with next, but this has been a great fight.
Munoz Cruz has a contender for fight of the night. This third round is absolutely going down.
We still have 2 title fights.
This is crazy. Minute 5 seconds remaining.
Anybody's fight.
These guys are going to throw until somebody falls down.
They will. 1 minute left.
55 seconds. Jeff Neal starting
Neal's
to pull
starting
away.
to land. Yeah. Ponzinibbio is so tired he can't even put his hands up to defend.
Oh, Ponzinibbio falling all over the place. Big time, almost Stockton slap lands for Jeff Neal.
Yeah, Ponzinibbio's looking for the spin, but it's a bad look when you go for the spin, stumble around, and don't throw it. It just looks like you're hurt.
35 seconds remaining. Now Ponzinibbio moving forward.
I thought he might have hurt Neal. Then Neal responds with 3 straight lefts in a row. Oh my goodness.
These guys are going out at 30 seconds. Neal with the high guard, still Ponzinibbio's hands by his waist.
24 seconds left.
These guys are having one heck of a fight. Oh, Ponzinibbio lands.
Yeah, he lunged in with that left hook. That was nice.
15
Anybody's
seconds.
fight.
Jeff Neal keeping it fresh. You love to see that out of your fighter. Ooh.
Ate a big shot, though, with 10 seconds left.
Ponzinibbio is the bloodied fighter. Another nice inside leg kick there. And that's the end of the fight.
Yeah, that was a good fight between those guys.
Matt, I'm not even going to try and judge that fight. That was a great fight. If they drew, I'd be happy with it. Let's hear from you over in the comments section. Who do you have there? I mean, let us
Jeff
know.
Neal 29-28.
I've got Ponzinibbio 29-28. But that's a heck of a fight. That's a hard one.
Yeah, it's a really hard one to score. I do think, though, Neal won round 1 and 2, and I think Ponzinibbio did enough in the third. But honestly, if Jeff Neal won 30-27, I wouldn't be that surprised.
That's a really, really hard fight to try and figure out. But Matt, I mean, one heck of a fight between these two guys. You get the takedown from Ponzinibbio that they show. That left hand for Jeff Neal tonight was money.
It really was, and it busted up the face of Ponzinibbio.
And when he was on the lead foot or when he was on from his southpaw stance, I mean, it's an interesting look from him, that left.
Yeah, he's a weird fighter. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 5 guy, but he's a very fun fighter.
Voodoo 30-27 Neal. Like, these scorecards could be all over the place, too. That's a crazy part about it.
I don't think Ponzinibbio won, in all honesty, though, even though that was my prediction. I thought he lost at least 2 of those 3 rounds quite comfortably. I think if you want to say, oh, he may have won 2 of the 3 rounds, that's fine, but I do think it's a hard case to make that he won 2 of the 3 convincingly.
All right, you get the total strike stats. Jeff Neal ahead 77-68.
I hope Jeff Neal won again. I can't say that enough. Or, sorry, Ponzinibbio for the predictions.
Regardless, I mean, that was just a heck of a fight between those two guys. Like, they put it all out there.
Oh, yeah. Interesting to see who the winner gets, because the welterweight division is just so good.
Interesting, too, because both of these guys, I mean, you talk about it, their finishing abilities, and we end up with a decision.
Exactly. And a razor-thin one, too. I have no idea who won.
It's going to be a really, really tough one. Significant strike stats, but, again, those don't tell the whole story. They definitely don't. Jeff Neal, Santiago, Ponzinibbio, and then our next fight, Nunes.
Oh, and I'm excited for that one, as you can tell.
Nunes and Pena.
Split decision or unanimous?
I don't know. I'm not looking at the comment
I'm
section
just asking,
for this
what
one.
do you think? Split or unanimous?
I have no idea.
I think it'll be split. It's that close. Wow, Craig, not giving an opinion?
Both of these two guys. Split. Must have been a split. 29-28 Ponzinibbio. Maybe 29-28 Ponzinibbio. 30-27 Neal. 29-28 Neal. Winner by split decision. Hey, heck of a fight, though. I mean, again, we're talking about, fight of the night. If it's not that one, Munoz Cruz, but that was a heck of a fight. And then when you move forward and we talk about, the welterweight rankings, so on and so forth, regardless of matchups that are already out there and in the air, they're really hard to matchmake in this division.
It is. Maybe Michael Chiesa, he's near the top of the division. He's had a loss recently or a couple losses, so that might make sense. You're at the bottom of the top 15. I was near the top. We'll meet in the middle, but It is an interesting division just because it feels like there's a big separation between the top 5 and the rest of the division. When you look at Wonderboy, Luque, Edwards, Burns, Covington, and Usman, they feel like they are a little bit ahead of the Masvidals, Neil Magny, Sean Brady's of the world, who are the, 6, 7, and 8 guys in the division. So it will be interesting. It's nice to see that Jeff Neal look good, though. Outside of cage things aside, and with his health problems in the rear view mirror, hopefully we do get more good Jeff Neal performances moving forward.
Big time one. I mean, again, if we're trying to guess, do you have a guess here?
Alicio Zaleski dos Santos. There you go.
He'll get another welcome newcomer.
He shouldn't, because he'll do terrible things to them.
Yeah, and that really is the trouble. So, I mean, let us know over there in the comment section. St. Lou saying, how about a draw? Kayla Harrison with Ali Abdelaziz. You have to think it's going to be official at some point.
You would.
You don't just show a competing organization's fighter if they're not coming over, wouldn't you say?
She's a free agent, so she doesn't belong to anyone.
And then David Spade. And Theo Vaughn.
That makes sense.
David Spade's the guy that you show. Yeah, I mean, Matt, listen, you look ahead, you look at the next fight, you have Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, the 30-27 Ponzinibbio. I thought it was 30-27 Neal, was it not?
Yeah. And I don't think that's that controversial, honestly.
No, not really. I mean, that was a really, really close fight. So a really, really tough one between those two guys. Matt, our next fight, Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena. We talk about Pena, big time winner last time out. And the craziest part about that fight, if I'm not mistaken, that was a fight where we get to learn a lot about a fighter who was stretching on the plane in Sarah McMahon when they were pumping that fight up.
Not afraid to do her cardio regime, just like in the hallways running back and forth. Here's the problem with Juliana Pena. Your last 2 wins the octagon are, like you said, Sarah McMahon, and then the former UFC women's flyweight champion, Nico Montano. Is that normally enough to get you a title shot in most other divisions in the UFC if you beat equivalent opponent? No, not at all. And you're not only fighting just a champion, you might be fighting the greatest fighter in the history of the UFC. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, Amanda Nunes might just be the greatest fighter ever. She's that good at everything, and there's really no weakness in her game. So, for me, I just find it really hard to look at any one area of MMA that Juliana Pena could really excel at. And this is really interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He fixes computers, basically, for the government. And, I don't know that much about computers, but I know a little bit. And he doesn't know that much about cooking, but he knows a little bit. You know what I mean? You can't know everything about everything. And the more you learn about any sport or just anything in general, you'll learn that there's always more to learn. With Pena, and with these big underdogs, you always look for what is the small little edge that they have over their opponent. And in MMA, it's such a weird sport because there's so much that can happen. Even with all the weird variables in MMA, I don't know what Juliana Pena can do to really change the tide of this fight. Does Pena have enough power on the feet to hurt Nunes? I don't believe so. Does she have good enough wrestling to take Nunes down? Maybe once. I can admit that. But does she have the jiu-jitsu to hold her down and then progress past guard, damage her?
She very well could. That's the thing.
But we've never seen Nunes in those positions. So why would Juliana Pena be the first person to do that?
And Kat Zingano was able to do big things.
10 years ago. You regenerate all the cells in your body every 7 years. So Amanda Nunes isn't even the same person she was in that fight. That's my point. We have to go so far back to start bringing up positives about this person's career that, or we start to bring up negative stories. It's the flip side that I just don't know what Pena can do. I'm trying to think, can she clinch her and waste minutes? Maybe, but at some point it comes down to, can you beat the power of Amanda Nunes? No one's shown the ability to do that. And then it forces most people to become a panic wrestler. That opens up Nunes' ground and pound, their own submissions. Just, it's a tough ask for anybody to fight Amanda Nunes, and I don't know what Juliana Pena can do any different.
I mean, for me, I look at this one, and it is really difficult because if you're looking at this from the standpoint of, okay, it's a fresh matchup, which it is. I mean, we haven't seen this one before, so that does make it interesting. But again, the quality of the wins for Pena since she came off The Ultimate Fighter, on The Ultimate Fighter, so on and so forth, it's hard not to be negative and to poke holes. So when I do look at this one, I said at the start of the week, you want to be polite, you want to be nice about it. It's difficult. Hey, Juliana Pena's in a title shot. Friggin' lucky Lauren Murphy was in a title shot too, and you couldn't have found more excited person than me for that fight. So was I. So when I look at this one, yeah, I mean, listen, Phoenix makes a great point. Probably or she wants to shine in front of Kayla, makes Kayla's stock rise every time Amanda dominates. And hey, tinfoil hat, maybe they've already signed Kayla Harrison and they're going to have her walk into the cage. Now, Brock Lesnar did that against Daniel Cormier, and it disappointed Craig Allen has lived on since that moment. But maybe they make a fight like that. Now, the question is, well, it's not at 135, it's going to be at 145. Maybe this is just to keep this division moving a little bit.
Kayla Harrison's going to be probably Amanda Nunes' biggest challenge. But nobody can come up to me and tell me Kayla Harrison's going to beat Amanda Nunes. And if you do, I'm going to think you're a fool, to be completely honest. Like, no one can come up and say, hey, Kayla Harrison's proved enough to me outside the UFC that she can come in and beat the greatest female fighter of all time. Because Kayla is very good, but my issue with her is very similar to what my issue with Chris Cyborg was when she fought Amanda Nunes. It's okay. You're beating people you're supposed to beat. I don't really know how good you are. And what Cyborg wasn't ready for was, okay, when I do face resistance, and she did against Amanda Nunes, what am I going to do? Chris Cyborg kept on throwing bombs, and Nunes knocked her out because of it. With Kayla, I don't know what she's going to look like if she isn't able to get that first judo hip toss, and Nunes does start boxing her up. We don't really know what plan B is for Kayla Harrison, and that's why it's so hard to really predict that fight if we do ever get it.
The trouble for me, and we're getting a highlight pack for Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunes, and they kind of showing off Juliana Pena's striking abilities, and you see it. It's moving forward, head down, winging wild shots.
Who does it remind you of, Craig?
Ronda Rousey.
I was going to say a certain Quiet Storm, but fair enough.
Ronda Rousey. So you look at that, you're moving forward. That's how you get picked off and countered. Nunes against Rousey, we all know how that went. So for Pena, credit where it's due. It makes sense not to make a Durandamy and Nunes fight, apparently. So yeah, Jermaine Durandamy gets to highlight a fight night like she does once in every blue moon. Yeah, I mean, for Amanda Nunes here, listen, I would be incredibly surprised if she wins. This is Agapova.
This is the biggest upset ever.
It really
Pena
is.
wins.
It's bigger than Sarah GSP.
I would be, yes, because this is the fight I'd be the most surprised if Nunes loses. Like, when she fought Jermaine Durandamy, yes, she was still a big favorite, but at least Durandamy has enough knockout ability and enough striking prowess that makes you believe, okay, if she is able to get every single thing to break her way, there is an avenue for her to win. Since Pena doesn't really have a specialty in anything, yes, I know she's a good grappler, but you get what I'm trying to say. I don't know what she's going to do to beat Nunes. I just think this is a tough fight. But we can say that about any opponent they put in there with Nunes at this point. Like, she knocked out Holly Holm with a head kick because she thought it would be cool to do.
Yeah, that one's very, very difficult. Phoenix saying the odds are getting even. Kayla versus Harrison.
I think Amanda should be like a minus 350 in that, to be honest. And I think Kayla's very good. But again, Kayla Harrison hasn't beat anybody even close to Amanda Nunes' level in her whole career.
E. Fireman 23 saying the striking between Nunes and Pena is the striking between Nunes and Pena needs to go to the ground.
She will need to go to the ground.
She will need to go to the ground if she's going to win this fight, Matt. We have Juliana Pena, the Pacific Northwest Venezuelan vixen, making the walk in here. If we focus in on...
I'd love to travel there sometime. I think it'd be a nice area.
The Pacific Northwest?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Venezuela.
Oh, no. I think the Pacific Northwest would be very nice.
Yeah, well, you don't want Wilson Ramos stuff to happen. But
I never said I did.
We look at it for Juliana Pena, 10-4 the total record. She won the Ultimate Fighter season 18. Since then, beat Jessica Rakoczy, who was 1-3. Melania Dudieva, who was 11-3. She beat Jessica I back at UFC 192. She beat Kat Zingano at UFC 200. Loses to Shevchenko. Beats Nico Montano a couple of years later, and then some. Loses to Jermaine Durandamy and beats Sarah McMahon at UFC 257. Poirier versus McGregor 2 earlier on this year. So, Matt, very, very interesting win there for Juliana Pena to get the shot. Phoenix saying Craig needs a glass of water. Stay hydrated, homie, and watch for the Waspises. Yeah, the Waspises got me. And honest to goodness, Phoenix, you want a true blue
Craig's
behind the scenes? I actually have a scar now from the Waspises on my hand.
They took a piece of Craig that day that he'll never get back.
That sucker got me good.
Wow.
Ricardo's not feeling the fact that, that's just rude. So that's enough. See you later. Don't be rude. The fact that she's a good parent is nice to see. But Matt, Juliana Pena, a good parent too. And
I have no idea what either one of them are as parents, and I don't care when I break their fights down. I must say that.
All right, Matt. Well,
here's the thing. Juliana Pena has a very, very tough time ahead of her. Now, I don't think she lost the fight before she got into the cage like Megan Anderson did, and that has to be said, because Megan Anderson looked like she saw a ghost. She saw the Babadook right before the camera, like, went onto her face, and walked through in a very gaunt manner, I must say. At least Pena believes she can win this fight, and that has to be said. I don't know many people who do, but she believes she can win, and that really does matter.
Matt, it's going to be a tough fight, and that much can be said. It's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a tough one for Juliana Pena. She's running gingerly. That's a Daniel Kelly type run right there.
That is.
Judo Dan. Fought Rashad Evans once.
He did. Beat him by split decision.
Dan Kelly beat Rashad Evans. How crazy is that?
Remember when Rashad Evans is coming back, and I don't want him to. Sad.
Rashad Evans.
Sugar.
More of Juliana Pena running.
Who sang that song, Sugar? It was real popular. Is that Maroon 5? Sugar.
Yes, please.
I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not mad at Maroon 5's music all the time.
Adam Levine, pretty good guitar player.
Yeah, like they've got some tracks.
Amanda Nunes set to make the walk, making another title defense at 135, winning the belt at UFC 200 against Miesha Tate.
Do you think she can hold the title for 100 events?
Yeah.
Has anyone done that before? I don't think anyone has. That would be the longest title reign. Maybe not in like years, but I just think that would be cool. Can you imagine winning the title at UFC 200 and defending it at 300?
Dylan R. with a comment of the show. I hope both of them have fun out there at least.
Yeah. Dylan, I hope you're sitting at home and you have a shirt on that just says like Yay Sports on it.
An NFL hat like Rob Lowe. No, I agree with you, Dylan. I'm dead serious. I'm not actually making fun of him. I'm dead serious because this is mismatched, but it's what you get in this division, and there's not a lot of fighters that pose the champion giant risks and can really pick out her flaws. That's the trouble. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like looking at Chris. It's like looking at Chris Cyborg now that Julia Budd's out of the question and trying to pick out somebody that's going to beat her. No. It wasn't Sinead Kavanaugh. Definitely wasn't. It wasn't Julia Budd.
This is why I haven't been all that like, ooh, I don't get that excited when Kayla Harrison fights. That's all I'm going to say. I think she's great. I really like her, but no one has ever gone into the cage with her and I've thought, wow, they really have a great opportunity to win this fight. And that matters to me because you don't truly know how good you are when you're just fighting people you're better than. Like, LeBron James wouldn't get better at basketball if he just played me and Craig in one-on-one all day. Because he's so much better than us that we'd never offer him any resistance, so we'd never have to try anything new and then build anything to his game. That's my issue with Kayla Harrison. When plan B always works every single dang time.
Wouldn't it be plan A? It's always working.
When plan A, works every single time, I do worry about what type of fighter you're going to look like when we do need to see that plan B, because there's a lot of fighters out there who, when everything's good, yes, they look great, but the second the going gets tough, they look like a different fighter. Thiago Santos is kind of a good example. Like, look at what he did against Glover Teixeira. When it's on the feet, when we're throwing, yeah, I can have great success. But when the going gets tough and you start to make this a tough fight and you're putting me down and you're getting on top, ground and pounding me, choking me out, like, when things get tough, I might not always get tough.
Matt, big time fight. You need some water?
No, I'm good.
You're good, Matt. We have Nunes and Pena. Nunes giving the hugs to the team. The coach is Conan Silveira. You have Nina Nunes. You have Marcus, I believe, the other coach, and I don't know who the other guy is. No. Looked a little bit like Damian Maya. He had the same haircut, but...
Could it be Osiris?
E. Fireman 23 saying, I do not want to see a huge upset. I do want to see a huge upset. That would be awesome. Yeah, it would. Because you know what? Sometimes you like things to get spiced up a little bit. Be something crazy.
A Juliana Pena dominated press conference isn't something I want to see in the future.
It's like, you know what? There's all these rappers. There's Kanye West. There's Eazy-E. There's Jay-Z. And then sometimes, you know what? The spotlight gets dominated by rappers like Asher Roth. So, yeah. Sometimes things get crazy.
Again, I asked, what's designer doing nowadays?
Good question by Voodoo. Do gum shields protect the bottom teeth? Only if you're Sam Alvey and you wear top and bottom one.
Only if you...
Or if you're like a football player or a kid that plays hockey and you have one of those bite down top and bottom. Really, they're supposed to help out, but again, it's more the top, the old top teeth. Look at it like, or you end up like Frank Mir when he fought Javi Ayala and they broke the top bridge of the bone that holds your teeth together.
I played basketball and some people wore the mouth guards, most people didn't. There you go.
I wear a mouth guard playing hockey, and there was a guy, again, the one time I didn't, I lost a tooth in pond hockey. There was a guy on my team a couple of weeks ago who took a high stick and he lost 4 teeth.
I had one of those thin ones, and I thought it was Steph Curry, so I'd like chew it in my mouth, and it became a big distraction. So I just stopped wearing it.
Yeah,
That was the problem.
I don't chew mine. It's just it's got to be in there to work.
Sorry, I've got ADD while playing basketball, so I gotta focus on a lot of things at once.
Sisu was my bread and butter. They were an early sponsor of the show.
Wow.
We still could have. I mean, it's what are they called? Affiliate link.
There
That's
you
what they're called. Sisu mouth guards. I've used them. Chris Lieben used to be a guy on there too.
There you go.
Chris Lieben. Oh, Voodoo. Yeah, Sam Alvey used to because he broke his jaw in the middle. So then he started to wear one, but then he had trouble trying to breathe with it. So very interesting stuff. But Matt, Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena. It's a fight in our lifetime. And if we get a finish win for Juliana Pena, as Rob wants to see, I will do a hot sauce shot. And I won't even do it with Poirier's hot sauce. I'll do it with
Craig.
all the hot sauces I have mixed together.
Nobody wants to do a shot of hot sauce more than you.
You know it.
Then why do you complain about it? You're like, oh, shucks, I gotta do it again. Hey, guys, I'm gonna put them all in a cup and take a shot of hot sauce.
I love it.
Then just do it. If you love it so much, who cares about the result?
All right, Matt. Well, Juliana Pena taking on Amanda Nunes. And for Pena, again, she's supposed to fight Holly Holm back in May of this year. The fight fell out. And then she got a Nunes fight. So pretty cool for her. She's fighting in this UFC organization that you know and love so much. Matt is hitting the wall that is known as being tired. And now, Matt, when we look ahead,
Sorry.
Lewis is taking on Dawkins coming up December 18th. That's our next card.
fight.
We'll get prepped for it tomorrow, and then we'll film it on Monday. My wife leaving the house on Monday to go pick up puppy Chuck, an addition to the family. Puppy
Excited
Chuck,
stuff.
he will be featured in some of the build-up for the next fight, and hopefully he's not a dog that when you hold him, he pisses. I'm very worried about that.
Are you? That's like what you're concerned about? Like that's the number one thing in your head? If I pick up my new dog, he might pee on me?
He is a red golden retriever. Puppy
I don't
Chuck.
think you're going to be that mad if he does. You just bought him.
Nah, I like him. He's a good-looking fella.
Oh, yeah, it's a cute dog.
Puppy Chuck. Big addition to the household. Coming up for the Christmas season now, Matt. Sean Visa and Craig 2024. I don't live in that country, so I don't even know when the elections are in the States.
I don't either.
I
I
don't-
put zero stock into... I don't...
Yeah, like you see the flag?
Here's the
Carlos
thing.
Newton signed that one.
I barely know it's Christmas in 2 weeks. If you went to my apartment right now, there's no sign of the holidays whatsoever. And it's just going to happen one day. I'm going to wake up and be like, oh, it is Christmas today.
Juliana Pena, stone-faced. I love it.
I do too. There you go, Craig. That's a recommendation.
All right, Matt. And Phoenix is saying, please get him the Child's Play costume. No, I'm going to get him a jersey, which I already have here, ready for him, because his name is Sir Charles Barkley. That's the dog's name. That's what it's going to be. So he gets a
Big
Chuck.
Phoenix Suns fan.
Yeah, I have it in the closet with my Steve Nash one. We get set for this fight. Puppy Chuck will have his own jersey. Matt, big time fight between Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena. The over-under, we were asked about it, over 1.5 rounds. I was honestly surprised how quick Cyborg put out Sinead Kavanaugh. Would you be surprised if we get a finish like that in this fight?
You're always surprised when Cyborg knocks out someone she's probably going to knock out, and I'm kind of surprised by you being surprised. Here's the thing.
I don't like Pena, I don't like this.
You don't like a little herky-jerk in her game, Craig? She's been watching a lot of Ben Rothwell. I took inspiration.
Oh, first
Well,
leg
one
kick
leg
drops
kick
Pena.
drops her. You don't love that.
Oh.
You know that song?
Oh,
Come,
another
let's
leg
watch
kick.
The rain as it's falling down. Every
be
time
pro-
she gets hit,
Be
she's gonna
professional
drop.
here, Matt. All right, so
I'm
we're
sorry.
40 seconds into the fight, and so far it's been Amanda Nunes landing a big-time leg kick that drops her opponent. Now that's a drop. Is it considered a knockdown?
No, it isn't.
No, it is not. So we move forward. Yeah, but it's going to be a really, really tough one here for Pena as we approach a minute into this fight. For Nunes, she's throwing a lot of feints with her lower body. You like to see that early.
And everything Nunes does has a lot of power behind it. If you do make the wrong decision, if you zig when you should zag and eat a big shot, it's going to be night over really quick.
Going to be a difficult one here so far, but it's been good for Pena trying to throw some of that volume out there early. Oh,
yeah.
She gets dropped by a right hand.
Doing a good job protecting her head. I don't know if she got dropped or if she just slipped on that,
Or
but she
pulled
definitely
guard.
fell.
Is Nunes going to play around, though, at Pena's specialty?
I think she should. I think she can ground and pound TKO around one, if I'm being honest.
Over a minute and a half into our first round for this bantamweight strap. You know it, you love it, you want some more of it. Matt, Amanda Nunes now engaging in this ground game with Juliana Pena. There's going to be a lot of people out there yelling no as Pena goes for the single leg.
She could. Wow.
Is she going to get it?
Oh, how the turntables.
She is really into it.
She's not going to get it, Craig.
Dimitar is saying Pena is creating a trap and a trip takedown from Amanda Nunes.
This is the problem. Amanda Nunes is very good at everything.
This is like Daniel Cormier and Derek Lewis.
A little bit. But, like, at least Derek Lewis had a chance of the feet because he's really big and hits super hard. The thing is that Nunes now has a counter to every move you have to her. And that's a really nice thing. She's really built her game around that. If you're a good striker, she can take you down. If you're a good grappler, she can strike with you.
There was a butterfly hook there for Pena, who's just reaching for that arm. Nunes countered that, got into side control. Now Pena rolls, looking like she's still grabbing the leg. Now Nunes has the back of Pena.
Pena, a submission specialist.
This is not good for Juliana Pena. Amanda Nunes has the back with half the round remaining to work.
2.5 minutes. They're up against the cage, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, they're not. Their backs aren't up against the cage. They can use it a little bit, but
Pena's in a bad way. Pena does have one arm though herself.
Oh yeah, Nunes has got to get that left arm free and try to use that one to help her choke. But
yeah, it's going to be a really, really tough one. But yeah, I mean, Amanda Nunes definitely has a great position here. She's going to try and go one arm rear naked. You don't see that every day.
And she could try to transition to mount and rain down some ground and pound because that's, again, one of her best positions. Oh, Pena doing a good job scrambling, though. Gets back to half guard.
I'm going to read a text that I just got here. And listen, apologies if I wasn't supposed to, but the text from John Franklin, member of Fight Night Picks. I'm cooking up the crow you're going to have to eat when the Vixen scoops up this belt.
Wow. John, if you're watching right now, I gave you a hard time when the Phoenix Suns made it to the finals. I didn't think they would, but I don't see it this time.
Amanda Nunes cranking. Ground control time for Nunes. That doesn't normally mean much, but for Amanda Nunes, it's been all Amanda Nunes here.
Well, the good thing about Juliana Pena is that her game's very similar to Piotr Jan's, and that, no, I'm just kidding. She gets better as the fight goes on. She's really going to need the offensive takedown at some point, though. You saw her load up on a lot of right hands early. She wasn't able to land a lot of those, but she is firing back a lot on the feet. It was just a really nice transition from Nunes to hit that sweep in the clinch and then end up on top.
Well, about 50 seconds remaining here in our first round. Nunes playing in the world of Pena, who has an arm. Will she be able to get a Kimura? Possibly. But Nunes here really trying to buck off. This definitely isn't a great spot for Nunes. It seems that Pena's got that arm. But, I mean, Nunes looking to go possibly in a guard here. It's really, really difficult.
Nunes got past the full guard of Pena, so it's not as big of a deal now. It's going to be harder for Pena to get any leverage on that submission. So, really good first round from Nunes so far.
20 seconds remaining here in our first round between Nunes and Pena. Nunes and Pena. Nunes hits the body. Pena holds the arm. You never know.
And Rob G, the Suns could win it all this year. They are really, really good.
You never know. 5 seconds remaining. Pena gives up on that arm. We're going to hammer away. I mean, hey! Landed a couple of decent shots there from bottom. But, Matt, 10-9 for the champ.
Yeah, she almost got the rear naked choke. Kind of dominated with the top pressure. So, yeah, 10-9 champ.
You get the numbers here. They're squished together. Nunes with some more total strikes. You had banging on the bongos there was the Venezuelan Vixen from bottom.
I hate it when fighters strike off their back like that. It's my least favorite thing to watch in MMA. Just, it's not that effective. Unless you're Tony Ferguson, who, like, he grabs people by the back of their head and pulls them into his elbows.
Rob G, I didn't want to answer it before. You hit up the super chat.
I don't ever think about it, ever.
Apologies, Rob G. You're here every week. You want the hot sauce. You know what? For the super chat,
I think she could beat people outside. Like, she could beat... If you don't have any training, she would beat you. I don't care how big you are. But if you do have a certain level of training, I think you might be able to beat
All
her.
I'll say, Rob, is that I feel uncomfortable when Nunes is smiling in her corner.
She's so good at everything.
Yeah, that's just the trouble. Here, I'll answer this. I think she beat Matt and I both. If it was a 2-on-1, she beats us.
And again, it's like Brad Tavares' training partner's brother's sister. Like, okay, a professional fighter's better than us. Regular guys.
Nunes and Pena. Now, for Pena...
She's
again,
on that front leg.
She was really trying to do a decent job. Stings her with a jab.
She stepped back, Craig. That's not a sting with a jab.
Stings her with a jab. Juliana Pena, second round. 15 seconds in, Nunes playing this one a little stiff.
I mean, not really. Nunes does like to wait for her power shots to open up, go for a lot of ground and pound, get top pressure. So this isn't anything out of the ordinary.
She does not respect Pena's power at all. And you could see that in that exchange because she just ate 2 shots. She's smiling.
Oh, yeah. Pena doesn't have a lot behind her shots.
Yeah, those leg kicks really doing a good job there for Nunes. But yeah, I mean, she's fine with letting her hands drop a little bit to eat some of these shots. And she has eaten some Pena shots. Pena's doing a good job right now.
Pena's doing a good job with her right hand. She's been able to land quite a few shots. And it is a shame. Like, if Pena had more punching power, there might be more of an effect behind these.
Yeah, I mean, Juliana Pena right now, a minute into this fight, is winning this round.
Oh, yeah, her strikes have looked really good. She's very active on the feet right now, which isn't letting Amanda throw anything. But Amanda hurt a big right hand. Yeah, Amanda finally hurt her with a shot. But Pena's doing well in the striking.
Pena's doing a really good job in this one.
But we will see. Oh, Nunes, though, starting to land some power shots in the feet, and that's the big difference.
Minute and a half into our second round, Nunes and Pena, and Juliana Pena's having her round here right now.
Pena's been the busier fighter, but the bigger shots have definitely been landed by Nunes.
Nunes planting and throwing. Juliana Pena not giving up a lot of room.
No, but Nunes has landed a couple stinging right hands there.
Big time right hand. Pena's starting to land.
Yeah, these two are just winging shots to each other. Nunes doesn't look as good as she did in the past.
This is a big time fight here. We got a banger going on right now.
It is. Oh, Nunes just pointing at the ground. We'll see what happens.
Somebody lost a mouth guard.
We will see.
Mark Goddard putting it back in for Pena.
Well, good for Nunes pointing that out.
Nice leg kick there from Nunes.
Wow. They've both been stunned this round. This has been a wild exchange.
2 minutes into the round, and these two are going at it. Big time right hand from Nunes.
I was going to say, Pena was doing well in these exchanges, but she's starting to eat some big shots now.
Yeah, both of these two are throwing down halfway through the round. Pena's stock's going up here in this round.
It is, but again, this is the problem with her striking. It's a lot of these just sloppy volume strikes, and they're landing, but not a lot of power behind them.
Yeah, I disagree. I'm not calling them sloppy.
If you get hit 20 times clean by a right hand and you don't go down and you don't react...
You have to say the same thing about both of them. These are both sloppy exchanges from both.
They are, but when Nunes is hitting Pena, there's an effect, whereas when Pena is hitting Nunes, there isn't. Look at the eye of Pena. It's almost close.
It's the same eye that really got lumped up when she took on Nico Montano. It's that left eye.
Okay, but it's still damage.
Fans are standing up for this one. They are throwing down. 2 minutes remaining.
It's been a wild round. That was a good right hand by Pena. Nunes looks out of breath.
Nunes looks like she's in really bad.
She's exhausted right now.
Yeah, Nunes...
And do you think the weight cut could have anything to do with that?
Pena takes Nunes down.
Wow, looking like the Kat Zingano fight.
Juliana Pena is looking like she's going to sync up the choke.
Yeah, Nunes...
She won!
Nunes must be hurt.
Oh my gosh!
That's wild.
Juliana Pena's your champion of bantamweight!
Your boy called it.
Wow!
Why did Nunes tap so fast?
I don't know. Juliana Pena has that effect?
No, she doesn't. There must have been something. If you don't have the hooks in, Craig, you don't often get that submission.
There doesn't have to be anything, Matt. This is just like the Teixeira Blachowicz thing. Juliana Pena is a champion.
In championship level fights, though, we don't often see fighters tap that fast. That's all I'm saying.
We saw it in that fight. I mean, a big time win for Juliana Pena. It could have been a cardio thing. Who knows?
Craig, I agree. I'm just saying. Think back. Volkanovski fought out of 2 of the most solid submissions we've ever seen. Got out of them. That's what you expect in championship level fights. When you don't have the hooks in on a rear naked choke, it allows the fighter who's being choked able to move. You can get your shoulder to the mat and get out of the position. That's all I'm saying. If you don't have the hooks in, you can't control them. So I'm surprised she tapped so fast, but I do think it was a cardio issue. Wow, that was wild. That shakes up the division so much, though, because like you said, Nunes was champ for so long. She had beat everybody who came along, and now Juliana Pena is the champ. Like, this is wild, the amount of fresh fights that we have all of a sudden, and I completely counted Pena out, so I'm very surprised.
Wow. I mean, what a win for Juliana Pena.
Fearless Red 25. Good job.
Wow.
That was incredible. That was a really, really nice performance by Pena.
So, John Franklin was right, and I'm eating crow.
That was good job, John Franklin. Yeah, Craig, she tapped before the choke was in.
That was just a weird ending to a weird fight, and what a win for Juliana Pena.
That was incredible. That really was. Like, that was phenomenal. And Craig, after a great pay-per-view, we still have Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. This is going to be wild.
Wow. I mean, let's have a look again. I mean, for Pena, ahead in the total strike numbers, too, after that one.
And she just put a pace that Nunes just couldn't really keep up with. Like, that was wild.
Wow. Juliana Pena, congratulations.
Oh, 100%. That was really nice. And the fact that she had this, like, she was doing really well on the feet, had Nunes tire, went for the choke. Like, that was just really, really smart. Great fight IQ shown by Pena. From getting submitted by Jermaine Durandamy to submitting Amanda Nunes, like, that is a wild 3 fights in the UFC. It really is.
From the, like, you win the Ultimate Fighter 18, long periods of inactivity, and then to build yourself up and win that belt, like, man, what a win for Juliana Pena.
Yeah, extremely surprising, too. To me, that's the biggest upset in UFC history. Amanda Nunes was basically unbeatable and was looking okay in the first round, but just the 180 that fight took, that was wild. Nunes taking her gloves off. Is she done? We will see.
Yeah, what a win for Juliana Pena. Wow. And listen, yeah, Queen Radiant was right. Everybody counted her out, too. What a big-time win for Juliana Pena. And now, you talk about, that opens a Pandora's box right there of opportunities.
Yeah, that was amazing from Pena. Like, that changes everything about this division because the division was growing kind of stale. That's what happens when you do have a very dominant champion. You kind of don't care about the contenders coming up, but now this changes everything. Ton of fun fights out there. Irene Aldana all of a sudden kind of jumps into the title picture. I know she has the loss to Holly Holm, but now even she gets back up in there. Like, there's so many fun storylines now after this fight. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really crazy one. I mean, a mic drop, good night over there, but yeah, that's a huge upset. That's one of the biggest upsets I've ever seen in my life.
I'm so confused why you got so mad that I said Nunes tap fast.
It was weird.
'Cause she did, though.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that was wild. That was just, she put a pace on her, and Nunes couldn't keep up with it. That was very, very nice. And I thought Nunes had gotten rid of any cardio issues she had throughout her career, but it must have been the weight cut. That was like the Roy Jones Jr. thing. Teddy Atlas talks about this a lot. Moved up to heavyweight. Once he went back down to cruiserweight, was never really the same fighter. And maybe that was the case for Nunes. They had talked about it. It had been a while since she had defended her bantamweight title. She had been a featherweight for a while, and yeah, just absolutely insane. What a comeback. What an upset. Just really, really nice performance from Juliana Pena.
Wow. I mean, and for Nunes, yeah, that's not something we've really seen out of her. That's crazy.
Exactly. Wow.
Nice Sean
stuff.
Smart just joined. It was a rear naked choke for Juliana Pena.
Really nice performance from Pena. She fought through adversity, put on a gritty performance. Like, that was good stuff.
That's it. And I mean, bigger than Bisping and Rockhold or Sarah GSP. I mean, here's the thing. So Bisping beat Rockhold. Rockhold wasn't the greatest of all time at middleweight. And then,
but he had beat Bisping like 8 months earlier.
Yeah, I mean, for Sarah to beat GSP, it was still early enough in GSP's career. But Nunes is like, she's such a big favorite. She's been cemented as the greatest at 35, 45, greatest of all time. And you can still say greatest of all time after losing to Pena. But that's the thing. That's why I think biggest upset of all time is Pena beating Nunes. And man, I can't say enough nice things to Juliana Pena. There's a reason I said you're knucklehead if you're betting on Nunes.
Yeah, but I thought you were knucklehead if you thought Juliana Pena had a chance to win. So hey, weird things happen in MMA. Just again, this sport's very, very weird. And it was really nice to see Pena conquer this mountain or climb this mountain. Just good storylines all around. This has been a wild night of fights.
And my text that I get back from John Franklin after the fight is surprised emoji. So, yeah. Wow. Yeah, Dylan R., it's a type of fight you remember. YouTube chat. Yeah, Holly Holm has to get the fight, wouldn't you say?
How many times? Holly Holm cannot have the career of, like, Randy Couture where every other fight is for the title. I'm sorry. You're right, but I just don't know what to do. This division is upside down right now.
Big time win. Walker Scott cheers the new champ in the super chat. Landon saying how. I don't know. I mean, yeah, Nunes right there with Joe Rogan. The hand wraps are off and the gloves are off, so you don't normally see that. Maybe she will actually retire.
I don't know. Oh, I'll go back to the gym, train hard, come back strong. Yeah, I just would have liked to see her try to fight out of that position a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. I don't know why you got so angry at me.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Because I'm just like, champions fight out of bad positions. They do. Again, it's Jan Blachowicz I thought tapped kind of fast. I expected him to fight a little bit more on the ground, and I expected the same thing from Nunes. I've seen her fight through bad positions and then end up in dominant ones. So I thought maybe this could be the same thing. Again, I'm sure the pressure of Pena really did hurt the cardio of Nunes, but when you're a championship caliber fighter who we talk about as being one of the greatest at your professional sport, it's just a little unfortunate when something less than great kind of takes you off the pedestal. And it feels like that submission wasn't completely locked in, that's all.
Well, yeah, I mean, Juliana Pena with a giant win there. And, yeah, that's crazy. And now Jared Leto.
I bet you it's not even cold in the arena.
Probably not.
Is he still in big movies?
I don't know. I don't follow.
He sings for a band, doesn't he?
30 Seconds to Mars? Is that Jared Leto?
I know he does a lot. I'm not a big fan. I just know he's definitely busy.
That's a crazy one. I mean, Matt, like, yeah, the internet is absolutely surprised. I mean, Rob
How
Lawrence
could they
as
not
well.
be?
Bob, I guess Nunes was gassed or rocked and went back to old Nunes where she's reckless and she got finished. Yeah, that was it. Like, that's the craziest part of it. Juliana Pena not only submitted Amanda Nunes, she outstruck her before she submitted her.
She didn't. It was just the pressure. That's what I mean. Someone called me out for saying that her punches are kind of sloppy. They are for Pena, but it's the volume that works for her. It's kind of like Aljamain Sterling. Like, Aljamain's not the prettiest striker when he throws everything, but he throws a lot and he overwhelms people, and that's kind of what Pena did tonight. So it was nice to see her striking kind of take a bit of an evolution, because if she can go out there, put an unnatural pace on people to where, hey, I'm throwing so many strikes, you're more preoccupied about defending than actually retaliating with your own, then I think she can at least defend this title a few times. But that's the weird thing about this division. She has a loss to Jermaine Durandamy. Holly Holm and Jermaine Durandamy are sort of, not to say that they're equals, but it feels like they're in an equal part in the division. So it really will be interesting to see how they match both these fighters up moving forward, and if Nunes gets an immediate rematch.
E Fireman, Dustin's going to lose now. Nothing but big upsets tonight.
Maybe.
It very well could be, Matt. I mean, your next fight, Charles Oliveira taking on Dustin Poirier. And for Poirier, I mean, listen, his last two fights, Conor McGregor fights, he won both of them.
He did.
By finish. Charles Oliveira's last two fights, Tony Ferguson, where he does everything but finish. And then in his last time out, he takes on Michael Chandler in a knock him out, drag him out type of fight where he got banged in the first round. He got just absolutely outstruck. It did not go well for him. And then in the second round, he comes back quick, too, and gets a finish.
He did, and he looked great in that second round. But the difference between
Sabah Homasi.
You love seeing that sighting every time Poirier fights. The difference, though... sorry, I forget the question, because Sabah Homasi.
I mean, Matt,
The difference between Chandler and Poirier, though, is that Chandler doesn't recover well after he gets hit, and he does get dropped by big shots. Not to say Poirier can't get knocked out by Oliveira. I do believe Oliveira has that kind of power to where he could hurt Poirier, but Poirier, after he gets hurt, can come back in a fight. Whereas when Chandler gets hurt, you can finish him. It's happened throughout his career. So I think Poirier's ability to recover is slightly higher. And I do think he has better cardio than Oliveira. And I do think that's going to be a big factor in this fight. Let's say these guys are even in the first round, even in the second round. I do feel like as the third, fourth, and fifth round move on, I do think that this fight is going to sway more towards Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting one. E Fireman 23 having a great night with Juliana Pena picking up the belt, and they're going to have to do a 30 for 30 on that one.
Jan Blachowicz I would put ahead. I'd say Michael Bisping. Like, there's a few guys, but yeah, they should do a 30 for 30, but, like, I guess they're more just about, like, one story. I was going to say UFC upsets. Think of something.
I don't know what to tell you, but I mean, yeah, we've got Charles Oliveira taking on Dustin Poirier, and you talk about it. I mean, sometimes you have a fighter that's not the number one contender taking on Oliveira. You have that here. You have champion versus your number one guy. And for Dustin Poirier taking on the man himself, I mean, this is a tough fight for both guys. For Poirier with the boxing, he's a right-handed left-hander. For Charles Oliveira with the Muay Thai, but also the innate ability to submit when it's on the ground and even off of his back. And we talked about that. I mean, triangles, you talk about with arm bars. He can do really anything.
Tricky.
There's so many different things that Charles Oliveira can do and that he does well. That's what makes this a hard fight for Poirier, because you don't want to take it to the ground, and we talk about all the Pettis fight and so on and so forth, but Anthony Pettis and Charles Oliveira are different guys when it comes to the mat.
Exactly. Anthony Pettis submitted Charles Oliveira in the first round of their fight, so if anything, Pettis is better. No,
ask Nick Lentz what it's like.
This is the weird thing. Oliveira is susceptible to defensive submissions because, and I do think this is true, Craig's not going to like this because he got really mad when I talked about it in the last fight. Amanda Nunes tapped kind of quick. With Oliveira, other than his last fight, when the going gets tough, you do question as to whether or not he can maintain being tough. Because, again, look at what he's been susceptible to in the past. Getting hit by power shots and sort of folding. That's what happened against Cub Swanson. Getting ground and pounded by Paul Felder, and he tapped out due to ground and pound, even though he's possibly the best grappler in the UFC. And he's been submitted when he gets caught in really deep defensive submissions because he won't really fight out of the hard position. Sometimes he will just give up inside of it. Now, I don't think that's the same fighter we're dealing with now. I do think he has sort of passed that mental block, but it's something we have to bring up because if you've shown that ability in the past in your career, and if you're fighting a guy who makes you go through very difficult fights, I think it is worth bringing up. But with Poirier, I think he can go for offensive takedowns. I think it's a terrible idea, but I do think he might be able to get like 1 or 2 in this matchup. This fight's going to be won and lost, though, at kicking range, oddly enough, because at kicking range is where Oliveira can get a lot of his own offense off at. He goes to the body very well with his kicks. He goes to the head very well with his kicks, but Poirier's got those great calf kicks. I know that's been a conversation ever since the first Conor fight, but offensively, he's had pretty good calf kicks for the majority of his career. He's one of those guys who, it took him a little while to learn it. He's not great at defending it, but offensively, he's got a great low kick. So if he's able to eat up Charles Oliveira's kicks and his legs early on, then I do expect Poirier to knock him out on the feet. But if Poirier is able to mix in his takedowns and get one of those great body lock takedowns early in the fight, then we very well could see an Oliveira armbar submission 30 seconds into this.
The craziest thing is, stat-wise, these guys are really close in terms of striking, offense, defense, percentages, output, so on and so forth. But when it comes to the ground, Charles Oliveira, most submissions in UFC history. He's up near the top in terms of bonuses. We talked about it, 29 combined bonuses between these two guys. And if you look at it again, Charles Oliveira, he won 2 bonuses. I believe it was the second Nick Lentz fight that he had. He wins a performance and a fight of the night against him. So yeah, and I mean, for Queen Radiant, picks are good so far. You've only lost 3. Nice. You're beating us, so credit to you, and especially for the first time tuning in. So good job out there. And you're picking Charles in this one. I mean, you might as well listen to Queen Radiant right now, because yeah, you've been on fire, and you had Pena to beat Nunes, so that's the way to go. Yeah, but I mean, you look at this one, Daniel saying first time on the Fight Companion, quite excited about the old Nunes reaction. Yeah, you got to give credit where it's due, especially to Juliana Pena. You're going to get some wrong, but that's what you like to see. I mean, a fight like that. So in Poirier, Oliveira, we both took Poirier, but it's so down the middle on this one. It really is.
Yeah, Charles Oliveira might be the greatest jiu-jitsu fighter in UFC history, and he's got great stand-up. So if he won, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, for Poirier, this would be a wild career arc for him. Like, you go from being a relative unknown in Louisiana, they make a big documentary about you, it becomes sort of a cult favorite. You go to the WEC, have like 2 fights there, and then you've just been on this weird run throughout the UFC. You've been this great action fighter throughout your run. You fought for the title 1 time against arguably the greatest fighter ever in Khabib Nurmagomedov. You lose that fight, but that's the thing about Poirier. He may have even got better after that Khabib fight when you think, okay, this might be the pinnacle of his career, because he has made some improvements after that too. So if he is finally able to get that UFC belt, like, I know he said 30 for 30 about Juliana Pena, but like, Poirier's kind of the guy who make the 30 for 30 about. From being like a juvenile delinquent in Louisiana to beating.
It's one of those documentaries it's hard to find on Fight Pass.
It is, but it would be crazy if Poirier is able to get the title, just from being just some guy to being a UFC champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think. I mean, Nunes was up around the minus 900, minus 950 territory. She loses her last fight. She gets finished in the second round. It's absolutely crazy to see. But I mean, yeah, you look at it for Dustin Poirier making the walk right here, taking on Charles Oliveira. And yeah, it really is a tough fight for both these guys. For Dustin Poirier, trying to figure out Oliveira, the range, everything. It is difficult. Wise Ape saying Oliveira by submission, and Ghost saying Kayla Harrison signing that contract tonight, man. But the trouble is, yeah, I mean, do they still make that fight at 145? And
I care a lot less about it, I gotta be honest.
Yeah, that's it. It really, really is difficult. Dustin making the walk here. Coming off those 2 big money fights he had his last 2 times out.
He did the Fred VanVleet. He bet on himself and it paid off.
Yeah, exactly. And now you have Poirier making the time out. Now we get a couple of hugs before he makes it to the octagon. And yeah, I mean, you look at this one. The votes on question mark kicks were split on this fight, 50-50, Poirier to Oliveira. And Poirier with Mike Brown in the corner.
Thiago Alves.
Thiago Alves,
It's a
too.
good corner.
It really is. And, I mean, it's going to be such a good
I always
fight.
forget his boxing coach's name. Goodness, I gotta look that up. Because he is really good.
Give credit where it's due.
I will. Here, I'll be very quick with this. Because I would like to get his name right. Because he deserves a lot of credit, honestly, for Poirier's boxing in the UFC.
Dustin Poirier here and now, and a couple of guys that are no strangers to bonuses. That's what makes this fight so much fun. And when you talk about a fight of the night on this card, Jeff Neal, Santiago Ponzinibbio, that is definitely a contender.
It could be.
Munoz taking on Dominic Cruz. Josh Emmett was a good fight against Dan Ige, really close down to the wire. But, when you look at a fight between these guys, I mean, Poirier was the interim champ. He beat Max Holloway to then fight at UFC 242 against Khabib. He loses that fight, ponders retirement, comes back strong, fights Dan Hooker in a main event.
Great fight.
Really, really good fight. And then if you look at it for Charles Oliveira, fought some fighters that, listen, they weren't in the top 15, starts them, then fights top 15 guys, has great fights, and then now he's the champion, and he's taking on the former interim champ in Poirier, where... Man, it really is a tough one for both guys.
No disrespect whatsoever, but, I couldn't imagine if Nick Lentz at the stage of his career that Charles Oliveira fought him the 5th time, if he fought Poirier, or, McGregor, or Gaethje, or Jared Gordon, same idea. It is very weird, the step up in competition that Charles Oliveira had. He went from fighting unranked guys that he sort of knew he was going to beat to, hey, you want to fight Tony Ferguson? Now, to his credit, he looked great in that fight. And I guess Kevin Lee was sort of his half step up in competition. And he looked great in that Lee fight. And isn't it so weird to go back? I watched the Kevin Lee fight this week. That was kind of the day the earth stood still. People forget, the morning of that fight, it's not that there was no COVID, but you get the idea. COVID wasn't as big of a deal. They had planned on there being full attendance. And then... weigh-ins happen. No one really knows. They still have the event, but there's no fans. That was kind of our introduction to fighting in front of no crowds. And luckily, Oliveira and Lee put on a really good fight. That was a great fight. But Oliveira looked so good in that performance that it finally gave you confidence to think, okay, when he does fight the next, or I guess the upper echelon in the division, he's going to have great success. And he's been able to prove everyone who did believe in him right so far.
You have the man himself, Charles Oliveira, making the walk, tossing the specs on for the walk. And listen, the whole team, they've got the platinum blonde hair. Matt, we've seen platinum blonde make a big change in a lot of fighters. Phil Haas is a guy who the platinum blonde
Derek
helped
Brunson's my favorite.
for a little bit. Derek Brunson's still on that train. Hopefully it works out for him and he doesn't have a Haas-esque performance. And hopefully they don't match Derek Brunson up with Chris Curtis, because I think that's a kryptonite type of fight.
He would probably beat him, but...
Yeah, I'm not picking against Chris Curtis.
Derek Brunson's great, though.
What?
He's the best version of a wrestle boxer in the division.
Matt, we look at this fight where Charles Oliveira is your champion at lightweight, which is crazy because, a couple of years ago, I never would have guessed that. Never would have guessed that. I would have thought Khabib would be the champion from now until the end of time. But we have this fight, Matt. Wagner Moya is saying Brazil, and Rob Lawrence saying, let's go Dustin. Seems like we have a little bit of a mix of people rooting for different fighters. And another guy who has a crazy,
They both have a lot of support there.
Platinum hair.
Is
Yeah,
that
it's
Gary
good to
V?
see. I have no idea. But Matt, Charles Oliveira looks like he's intense. Looks like he's into it.
Yeah. He rarely he just looks like a regular guy. That's the wild thing about Charles Oliveira. You'd be like, oh, you're just a normal dude. But no, he's the lightweight champion of the UFC.
Hey, pal. Hey, guy.
Very thick brim glasses on him.
Keeps the glasses on, takes the shirt off. That's a veteran move.
So he must genuinely need them then. He's not just doing it for the fashion.
Well, he's still wearing them now. I will say this. When I wear glasses all day and I go to do something and I take them off, I have a hard time doing that.
You need to adjust, don't you?
I have a hard time doing that. He wears the glasses all the way into the walkout, kisses a coach. And to me...
So wait, is that a weird handicap you're going to throw out there?
No.
Oliveira needs 7.5 minutes until his vision's 100%?
No, but for me, yeah. It just really is difficult when you look at it that way. Probably has no effect. But for me, for an average man, that's just, it affects me.
But Charles Oliveira is no average man. He's the UFC champion. I'm so excited for this fight.
Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier. Do you anticipate somebody gets finished?
Yeah, probably. You mean the two, best finishers in the division's history? Probably. We've never seen Oliveira go a total 5 rounds, and Poirier rarely does when he's in a 5-round atmosphere. His fights tend to end by finish, too. I think Poirier is going to win by knockout, but again, if Oliveira knocked him out, I wouldn't be surprised. If Oliveira submitted him, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the problem. Like, I'm almost so ready for every outcome that the reaction might not be that crazy on this, because I do envision Oliveira knocking out Poirier, submitting him, winning by decision, and same thing vice versa. So, I've thought about this fight a lot the last, month. I'm not going to lie.
Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, most combined UFC fights, wins, finishes, and performance awards for a title fight. They're hugging it out, and he's giving love to the corner.
See, you can't dislike either one of these guys.
Good for Charles Oliveira. I don't think you're supposed to touch your opponent and his corner before a fight, but what's the difference?
What do you think the UFC is going to do? Fine him for giving Dustin Poirier
Well, you're not
a
supposed
hug?
to jump into the cage after you win, but everybody was cool with it because you
Yeah.
knew he had good intentions.
Charles, yeah. Like, when they faced off yesterday, Dana White was like, oh, buddy, and grabbed him by the stomach, and Oliveira's like, really? You think we're going to start throwing punches at each other here? Like, no. We're smart guys.
Same age. Oliveira, a little bit taller, a little bit longer, half a pound heavier yesterday when they weighed in.
Oliveira looks bigger, too. Like, he has a big frame for this division. It's wild that he fought at featherweight, and it's wild that he always wants to fight at featherweight.
Charles Oliveira, Dan Hooker.
If it was up to Charles Oliveira, he'd be fighting, like, Alex Morono next. Not Alex Morono. He'd be fighting Brandon Moreno next week at flyweight. That's how crazy he is.
Dylan R. saying Oliveira getting in Poirier's corner's head. It's genius. It's a genius move.
I mean, I don't think they're going to want their guy to hurt him any less just because he gave him a high five.
Derek Cleary, Saul D'Amato, and Junichiro Kamijo, your judges,
The
and
third
Herb
man
Dean.
in the cage.
Your 2020-2021 referee of the year, Herb Dean, is your referee for this title fight. We haven't seen Dan Miragliotta in a little bit.
We have it. Tandan, formerly known as the Man. Where's he been?
The niceness is a trick. Chiesa does the same thing. Didn't work for him his last time out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think Charles Oliveira's got some, galaxy brain tactic going on right now.
Never know. One never knows, Matt. We have a big-time fight coming up between Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier for the lightweight strap. It was abandoned by Khabib Nurmagomedov when he fought Justin Gaethje in a masterclass of a performance. It was picked up by Charles Oliveira when he fought Michael Chandler. Dustin Poirier's been just continuing to add to a string of wins since he lost to Khabib. And now all of a sudden these two guys match up. Kind of crazy that they haven't fought each other considering they're past at 145, 155.
Exactly, they've been very similar. Now, Poirier moved up in weight a little bit earlier than Oliveira, but still, like you said, both had a lot of success at both weight classes, and that's kind of the surprising thing. I know losses forced both of them to move up in weight, but still, they both had quite a bit of success down at featherweight, and that's really the big key. It's not like they lost a bunch of fights and then were forced to move up in weight. Poirier was just big for the division. He had lost to McGregor, sort of done everything he could at featherweight, and we've seen just sort of the evolution of his game up at lightweight. With Oliveira, it has been interesting. He had that weird fight against Will Brooks where he chokes him out quick and immediately says, I want to fight at featherweight, because of course, the most Charles Oliveira thing to do. But ever since that, he has looked really, really good. And the key in this fight will be the wrestling of Oliveira, I think, because if he can decide where this fight is contested at, then he should be able to win. If he can decide when we're on the feet, when we're on the ground, then Oliveira should have a great opportunity to win this. But we saw him get hurt against Chandler in the first round, and if Poirier can hurt him and do something similar, I think he can finish him.
It's been an absolutely wild card so far. Matt, I mean, you look at the picks, I think they're one in the positive, so this could bring us back to 500 or give us 2 over. But yeah, Rob Lawrence saying, guys, let's go. I'm still not happy with it because it's not a giant net positive, but
it's been a great night of fights, though.
It's been a great night of fights. You still have that Lewis Dawkins card to end the year. Charles Oliveira taking on Dustin Poirier. I will bring you to, if you just joined, the Fight Companion, the regular view. This is where we're going to be at. Matt can move a little bit to his left, just a tad. We won't obstruct you from the butterbean glove in the middle. But yeah, we have a big-time fight, Matt, here. Big-time fight feels. I was so excited for this card this week. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I saw the Canadians play Chicago. I saw Marc-Andre Fleury's 500
I care about
this
this
week.
more than I care about Christmas, if we're all being honest.
And this is going to be one heck of a fight. And yeah, I have no strong feelings either way. Like, I got to throw that one out.
Oh, yeah, both guys are great for the sport. They both have very entertaining fights. That's really all you can ask for.
So when the fight starts, we're going to get rid of the logo in the middle. You have a 5-minute timer. If there's a pause in the action, we will pause it like that. We will restart it like that. You let us know who you have in this fight in that comment section below, but don't fill it with spam. And yeah, we're going to have a good time and get rocking and rolling with our second of 2 title fights. Giant upset in the last one.
Huge.
You're
possibly the biggest ever.
Your champion in this fight, not a big favorite either. Actually, he's not the favorite. He's an underdog. So it'd be interesting to see if we get 2 guys two fighters, hit his underdog in a title fight.
It would be interesting.
Oliveira and Poirier, we get set for our first of 5 rounds. And look at that, flying knee
Oliveira,
out here
wow.
from Oliveira.
Trying to back up Poirier. Very interesting because Poirier is normally the aggressor in his fight, so it will be interesting to see how well he is fighting.
Oh! Dustin Poirier drops him with a right hand.
Power, but Oliveira landed a right hand down the middle too.
Both of these guys are coming firing out of the gates.
Yeah, both guys have insane power for this division.
Now, does this favor either fighter a quick start?
Interestingly enough, both guys could benefit from it, so it is hard to say if one can more than the other.
Both of these guys landing in the pocket. Uppercuts.
Both guys good in the clinch, too.
That was such an odd clinch exchange. Charles Oliveira gets himself off the ground to try and pull Poirier down.
Poirier, a real strong neck moving back.
Poirier doing a great job landing the looping shots here. Nice uppercut from Oliveira. There's just too much action.
There is. There's so much going on. Good left straight by Poirier there. Oliveira's doing a good job closing the distance, though, every time they are in boxing range. Just making it a Muay Thai fight.
Nice knee from Oliveira up the middle. But again, if you look at this one, weird to see Poirier kind of shaking it off there. But Poirier is landing the looping shots, and Oliveira's landing great ones up the middle.
He is. And Oliveira's really trying to clinch a lot in this, but both guys are landing big power shots in the clinch.
Ooh, nice left hand there for Oliveira, and it's almost like Dustin predicted that knee up the middle.
Yeah, there's some high-level stuff. Both guys are just so good.
Minute and a half in so far. You've had great action here.
Definitely have. And both guys should be able to keep a good pace for 25 minutes. I'm not too concerned about the cardio.
Ooh, big-time right hand
Both
stings.
guys landed good shots.
Takedown attempt from Oliveira.
Good underhook, though, by Poirier. He's done half the work, but these are what Oliveira likes to do. He likes to go for those body lock takedowns.
Good knee there from Oliveira. You got one underhook from Poirier. You got the leg wrap there from Oliveira. Is he going to be able to get it?
He's going to try to make Poirier give up the back and make it a decision. Do you want to go to the ground or give your back up standing? This is how he beat Will Brooks.
Oliveira gets it down,
Wow.
but Poirier gets right back up. The whizzer there, and Poirier's up to his feet.
I mean, that just showed how good both guys are. The trip from Oliveira and then the get-ups from Poirier. That
Nice
was
elbow
great.
there from Oliveira. Nice straight shot from Oliveira.
Good
Nice.
left hand from Oliveira.
Oliveira's doing good work here after he got rocked early.
Yeah, you've got to watch out for the strikes of Oliveira on the feet. He's got really, really underrated power.
4 shots in a row land for Poirier.
Both guys have been able to land.
And we're only halfway through our first round.
Exactly. Round 1. We got 5 more. Good left hand by Poirier.
Poirier lands a couple of nice hands. The left-handed, right-handedness of Poirier really showing out here, but Oliveira doing a good job.
You just know that both guys are one shot away from winning.
Looked like a bit of a slip there from Oliveira.
Might have been, but he did need a couple shots getting up.
Flying knees, and they look like they landed for Oliveira. Nice uppercut from Oliveira.
Oliveira puts a pace on you. Goodness.
This guy will not get out of his face. You rarely see opponents do that to Poirier.
Yeah, you really do, because most guys are afraid of walking into the power, but Oliveira's been able to eat some big shots.
Poirier's starting to land here. These guys are going at it.
Yeah, they really are. Ooh, good uppercut. That was nice by Oliveira.
That sneaky little uppercut from Poirier. Nice feint. Rather Oliveira.
Yeah, if Oliveira can time the ducks and Poirier, he's going to have great success. Ooh,
whoa!
Big right hook from Poirier.
Poirier drops him. He's going down. Now you're in Chucky's world.
Good left elbow, though. See, this is good, though, for Poirier. If you do have him hurt, I think he is going to be comfortable enough grappling with him a little
Minute and a half remaining. Poirier gets him up.
You want to
So 2 knockdowns for Poirier in this round.
I think it really is 1.5, maybe, because the first one, I don't know if it was a knockdown or not, because he might have just clipped his shoulder, but yes. He's definitely landed the bigger shots, but Oliveira's been very competitive in a lot of these exchanges.
Nice inside leg kick there from Oliveira.
Definitely.
Oh,
good
that
left
one
straight.
stuns him.
Yeah.
Another one. Poirier's pouring it on.
When Poirier gets his range, he is a...
Poirier's landing.
Oliveira's been able to stand up to the power of Poirier, though. I didn't think he'd be able to eat this many shots. Good response by Oliveira.
Oliveira
nice
doing a good job. Ooh.
That one might have wobbled Poirier a little bit. Both guys
48
landed.
seconds remain.
This has been a wild first round.
These guys have been in the pocket, and so far, chins have been checked.
They certainly have been.
Another nice...
When Poirier's just throwing the left straight early, that's when he's landing.
34 seconds remaining. Another teep there from Oliveira. I love those kicks.
They are really nice. Oliveira's starting to eat some big shots, though, on the feet.
And big reactions, too. I mean, that neck is snapping back at the power of Poirier.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Poirier doing a good job. Gets out of range, but Oliveira hits him flying knee.
Woo.
Poirier
Oliveira.
misses, but he ducks out of the way. 14 seconds remaining.
Whew. Oliveira getting fancy.
10 seconds remain.
Good straight by Oliveira. Oliveira is so fast.
Mixing things up, too. You love to see it. And that's the end of our first round. These guys went at it, Matt, for 5 minutes. And I'd really like to hear what people are saying. I mean, Fearless Red 25, Poirier got hurt. Man, Charles has a chin. What a banger, guys, from Olive Lawrence. We're scoring that round. That was really even. I'm not even going to look at the striking totals,
Poirier
Matt.
because the knockdown.
I think the knockdown and maybe even two of them. For me, I've got it for Poirier, but man, that was a close round.
That was. Even if you look at the numbers, they won't tell the whole story because it was very competitive. Because Oliveira definitely had success on the feet. He hit Poirier with some good... Yeah, I feel like that was a bit of a slip. He had hit Poirier with some really good shots himself. And I like his decision-making on the feet. Yes, he ate some big shots. It's going to happen if you fight Dustin Poirier. But when he was in boxing range, he'd close all the distance. And when he was on the outside, he'd leave a lot of space in between them.
Walker Scott saying pop and popcorn fight for sure.
That right hook was filthy.
That's a you dropped him. You go down to a knee.
Yeah, that one hurt him for sure.
That was a heck of a round between those two guys. This is what title fights are made of, Matt. Oliveira taking on Poirier. Second round. These two guys are into it. We'll get the timer ready for you. But, yeah. Daniel Wright, who cares about the rounds? This can't go the distance.
I don't think it will. Even if it was a 3-round fight, I doubt the odds would favor this going the distance.
All right, Matt. We get set for our second round. And Queen Radiant is loving it. Having a good night out there with the picks, too. She got us beat.
That's good. Hopefully you're having a good night watching the fights.
Dustin's got more dog, is what Tim's saying. Maybe he does, but we've seen from Charles Oliveira,
He's durable.
question to quit, this guy kind of let that go at the door.
Putting her to rest, that's for sure.
Poirier more of a favorite than he was at the start of the fight. He's digging an underhook here, taking on Oliveira, who's looking for the takedown. Knows he's got to get it.
Yeah. Looking to open up the grappling side of his game, that's for sure. Good knee in the clinch, though, from Oliveira. He's so active with his offense.
Ooh, the whizzer. Can it keep Dustin standing? Taps that knee to the ground. Ooh!
Took the back of Poirier, but Poirier's working up to his feet.
He's got the back. Poirier's fighting the hands. He might be out.
That was a good job defensively by Dustin.
Oh, and look at that. Oliveira goes to the ground himself. He grabs the arm.
Grabs the arm. Poirier's going to get out of it, though. Yeah, his arm's clear. Gotta watch out for getting swept, though, by Oliveira, with his right leg being by Oliveira's left arm.
It's a tight position a minute into this round.
Very tight position.
What the heck did
that's-
Dustin Poirier just do?
That's basically how he had to get out of it, though, because his arm was stuck. But I don't know if going to your full guard against Charles Oliveira was the best idea.
We had a glitch on our side. We're about 3 seconds of a lag there,
Aren't we?
just so you know. Poirier's holding on for dear life. He wants old Herb Dean to stand this up. Herb Dean known to stand some
He
fights
is.
up.
He's got a full lockdown position going right now.
Yeah.
Been a crazy fight so far.
You're going to get body punches out of Oliveira. Chucky Olives, is he going to be able to, force a fight here? He's going to try.
Trying to, but
Just putting those hands on Poirier's face. Poirier holding on for everything he's worth.
he's going to have to. If you give Oliveira space in a position like this, that's just going to open up a whole bag of worms that you do not want to see.
Give the man an inch, he'll take a mile.
Exactly.
Herb Dean's saying work. He loves the old clap to
He
say
does.
work. Dylan saying Herb. Oh, Charles forces
Able
it.
to break the posture a little
Nice
bit.
elbow to
Yeah.
the ear.
Good elbows.
Those are legal.
Poirier's going to have to work to get back up to his feet.
You got a forearm choke. Poirier's still hanging on. Oliveira working away, misses an elbow. That's the old UFC 4. You duck and you reverse them.
A filthy
You
move.
sweep 'em.
That's how you change the whole fight.
Poirier here, still back to the mat. You don't win around this way.
No, you certainly don't. Poirier's got to just get out of this position. This is a bad place to be with Charles Oliveira on top of you.
Forearm pressure from Oliveira. It's there, and he continues to hit those elbows. I mean, this is Alexander Romanov type stuff right here.
This really is. Just need the double hammer fist at some point. He should fight every other weekend.
Poirier's still on his back. Oliveira doing great work in this round.
Yeah, really good job by Oliveira, getting it back after being hurt in the first. Bad decision making by Dustin Poirier, though.
2 minutes remain here with Poirier on his back, and now we lose another about 3 seconds. Fight pass and the
I'm
legs.
not sure what's going on.
2 minutes. Another nice elbow there from Oliveira.
I'm surprised Oliveira hasn't tried to pass guard, though.
When you're landing elbows like
No,
this.
I know, but he's so good at getting past guard, moving into side control, into crucifix, into full mount, getting to the back. Like, he's such a tricky fighter.
Another nice elbow. Another nice elbow here. Poirier's got to get out of this position. Surprised he's not cut open yet.
Yeah, very. Got that double lockdown again.
Poirier trying now. Minute and a half remaining. It's the leg that we have now at this point. Fearless saying thought that Poirier would have the strength advantage. Well, again, it was with that
that
roll
armor.
that he tried to get out of it. It really didn't benefit him, especially in this position. But a minute 15 remains in our
But
second
honestly, he's lucky that this is all Oliveira's been able to do in 2 minutes. Because if you're on the ground with a guy like Oliveira, normally you've got an arm or a neck snatched up by now.
round. A lot of big elbows here in the control time for Oliveira. We get that on the screen.
Oliveira really turning it around.
Minute remains. Another nice elbow. From
Very
Oliveira.
good.
Poirier still on his back.
He must just be happy to burn this round, and we'll start the next one on the feet. Because his takedown defense has been pretty good with the traditional takedowns, but he cannot grapple with Oliveira on the mat.
Chucky playing the hand to the face game, really making it grimy and dirty.
He is. It's a good move. You got to disrupt the breathing.
40 seconds remain. All Oliveira in this round.
Definitely.
33 seconds remain. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Phoenix saying Charles is crushing Poirier. I wonder how this plays out in the third round.
It will be really interesting, yeah, to see where both guys' gas tank is in the third round. But again, Poirier had a lot of success in the feet, but Oliveira has had some too. Whereas on the mat, Oliveira's just been one-way traffic with his grappling.
I mean, that's it. Now he's stacking guard, looking to land a couple good shots before the end of the round. Poirier just looking to get out of danger. Pretty accurate striking, too, from a stack guard. That's not easy.
No, it wasn't bad.
All right, Matt, we get the end of our second round. We'll bring it on over. We'll look at the live stats. I mean, Oliveira pulled away with the strikes in that round. It's got to be us, and I'd like to know from the chat, too. 10-9 Oliveira in that round?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't enough for a 10-8.
10-9 Oliveira. We're going with that. So, tied after two?
I would say.
It was a close first round.
Was it though? A guy got dropped almost twice.
Yeah, that much is true. But again, it's been a tight fight. It's been a heck of a fight, too.
It has been, but like that doesn't mean every round's been close. I would say Oliveira definitely round two. Poirier
Second round wasn't
one.
that close. That's the thing. I mean,
That's what I mean.
Poirier
Not
had some
every
exchanges
round has
there.
to be close for a fight itself to be close. That's a point that people on Twitter don't like. But it's
Walker
true.
Scott saying, yeah, I mean, Oliveira's going to be going for takedowns nonstop after this one. It was weird out of the Wizard to get it, and then the way that they were at, I mean, for Poirier to kind of try and roll through it, he must have been watching a
was
little bit of
feeling
Ryan
himself.
Hall when he was warming up. Ryan
Must
Hall.
have. But one round each. Now it's just a regular fight. This is a 3-round fight from this point on. Best
And
of
we're
three.
tied, most likely.
That's what I mean. Best of 3.
Fearless Red 1-1, Rob G 1-1, Rob Lawrence. Wow, just wow.
Don't know
Like
if
the
Oliveira
Beck
hurt
song.
his left arm or not, but he was holding his shoulder weird.
All right, Poirier working out the arms.
It's been a great fight so far.
Possibly a 10-8 from Voodoo.
I don't think it was enough damage personally.
All right, Matt, we get set for a third round between these two guys. Obviously, we will have 5 rounds. Another nice kick to the breadbasket there from Oliveira. Poirier lands a good shot of his own, but it's the volume of Oliveira just looking to overwhelm Poirier.
Oh, this is not good for Poirier. Poirier is really good at getting the underhooks, but with this position, Oliveira's basically got his back standing. Great job from Oliveira to start this round.
Oliveira's got the back in a big way here,
He
unless
does.
he slips off.
Poirier was able to chuck him off in the second round, but then he made that bad decision there on the mat. Interesting to see what will happen here up against the
Ooh,
cage.
he's got 1, he's got 2,
Ooh.
but it's not under the neck.
It might be, though.
Nope.
No, you're right. This is a dangerous spot to be for Dustin Poirier. You gotta try to use the cage to get him off your back.
Going for a crank here.
Gotta try to fight the top hand if you're Poirier.
He's going for it now.
Yep. There he's created a little bit of separation.
You have all the resets here from Oliveira. Ooh, that looks like it's in.
He's still fighting the hands.
Looks like it's in.
Yeah,
He taps.
wow.
Charles Oliveira.
Charles Oliveira, and still.
Wow.
Charles Oliveira's got to fight Habib at some point.
Charles
I know it's not gonna
Oliveira.
happen.
Wow.
That was an amazing submission. Like, he did exactly what he needed to do based on what happened in the second round, though. Went for the takedown, saw that he was the superior fighter on the mat, and was able to get the sub in the third. That was great work by Oliveira.
Giant win for Charles Oliveira. And man, this guy continues to add. He's so legit. That's a performance
And
bonus.
I'm going
right
to shout
there.
out something you said earlier on in the week, too. He invested in himself, and that's a really big point. Like, he's not somebody who, okay, I'm now a champion, this is good. He's continued to make those improvements ever since, and that's just a great thing to see. Wow.
E Fireman 23. Spread the wealth. Yeah, Gaethje in the crowd. So you had to think, if Nunes won, Harrison was there for
But
the
okay,
call out.
this is all I'm saying with Nunes tapping kind of fast.
Oliveira's here. Now you expect the Gaethje call out.
I 100% agree. Dustin Poirier fought that rear naked choke a lot. He fought the hands. He did a lot. Nunes just tapped.
Matt, we have a big time card coming up next
We do.
weekend. Derek Lewis is taking on Chris Dawkins.
I'm excited for that fight.
Kyle's brother. It's a big time card. I can't wait for
It's a big crossroads fight in that division because Derek Lewis, we know, he's not only one of the biggest power punchers of all time, but he's coming off a title fight. And this is always an interesting position for a guy's career to be in, where you just had the biggest opportunity of your life. You fought for a UFC title. Now you're fighting Chris Daukaus. It's not that that's a shame or anything. This isn't me throwing shade at Chris Daukaus, but you get the idea. There's a big difference between headlining a pay-per-view in your home city too. Now you've got to go turn away the prospects. So this is going to be a very, very big fight and a big opportunity for both guys.
Big time fight coming up. Appreciate everybody who tuned in here with the Fight Night Picks Companion. The picks, I believe they were 500.
50-50.
You hate to see it, but listen, we'll be back and strong next week. Puppy Chuck might make an appearance in the show, question mark kicks. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Keep
Matt, big time week coming up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the fights. Again, thank you so much. Keep locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say, let's get into it.